On this episode of the Red Plates podcast, we had the legendary co-host of the Two White Lights podcast, Angelo Fortino, on the show. This podcast is actually one of my favorites because I have been listening to the Two White Lights podcast for a very long time, and some of you guys listening may be big fans of theirs too. Me and Angelo actually go way back about 4 to 5 years. We talk about that. We talk about PA Nationals. We talk about the do's and don'ts of having a podcast. Lots of good stuff goes down here. Main reason I'm even doing the intro is because of the Two White Lights and how they do their intro. Without further ado, Two White Lights and Red Plates podcast. Let's get into it.
Baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Oh, baby, I like it raw. Yeah, baby, I like it raw. Shimmy, shimmy, y'all, shimmy, yam, shimmy, yeah. Give me the mic so I can take it away. Off on the natural charge, bon voyage. Yeah, from the home of the Dodger Brooklyn squad. Wu-Tang killer, hubby's on the swarm. Rain on your college ass disco dorm. For you to even touch my skill, you gotta go to one killer bee, and he ain't gonna kill now. Drop that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Red Plates podcast. This is episode 30, actually, and we have a lovely guest from America, Mr. Angelo Fortino. You are our first American guest, Angelo. How do you feel about that, man?
I'm honored. I'm honored to be on the best Canadian powerlifting podcast too. So
Yeah,
thank you for that.
yeah, I think we earned this by default. I think we're the only one, but we'll take it.
I think Quebec has one, but fuck Quebec.
Yeah, we don't know any French, so.
Is there like a rivalry? Because you guys are Ontario, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, is there like
Yeah.
rivalries between the provinces in Canada?
Yeah, I would say well, every nationals they do I don't know if they do it the same over there, but they do best province. So
Oh.
Ontario, every province, and then Ontario is probably the biggest amount of lifters. I don't know the actual stats, but it definitely is because we have a lot of people here. And then BC is also big in terms of population for competitors, and same with Quebec. And then Quebec is probably they actually win most of the time, which sucks because
Oh yeah, that's got to change. Yeah,
I
Ontario.
know.
They
Actually,
use
Alberta should be. Aren't they just they just work on oil rigs all day?
yeah, yeah. They probably can grow up rough or farming and stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, Trevor's
They-
actually Trevor's a farmer family, so that's why he's so big. Trevor's what's your height, Trevor? Height and weight?
6'3" and 153 kilos ish.
Yeah, so he's the opposite of me and Angelo, except for Angelo's also still very strong. I'm working on that part.
Luke, you humble yourself. You're progressing very nicely. The conventional looks good on you.
Yeah, I'm
I've been telling
trying.
the same thing.
Yeah, it's been going well even since Nats for conventional, but I'm still I believe I can do more sumo, so I have 1-1, and we'll just see how it runs. And
I think that's going to translate over to your bench too, even though I have no science to back that up. But if I'm thinking of a good squatter and a conventional puller, the bench has to be good.
yeah, it's just so
When you combine those two things, I just feel like you have to have a good bench on top of that. I don't know why. I feel that's correct in my head.
And that's what I've been thinking. I'm manifesting it to happen because I'm no way I can squat decent, and then my bench and deadlift are just in the gutter. I'm it has to turn around. So that's the plan. I was actually watching your deadlift. I watch it all the time, but your stance, obviously, I'm not going to copy that. But I was looking at how you grab the bar so low in your hand. It's not the most fingertip grip. I was trying to do it, and I'm no, I'm not Angelo. So now I'm back to just fully grabbing the bar.
Actually, yeah, I wouldn't emulate that either because it depends on the day. I'm probably doing it wrong. That's a problem with my deadlift is I'm sure you guys have experienced you just do something on a training day. You're why did I do that? What triggered that thought in my brain to just start doing that? And I'm guilty at times over gripping the bar or squeezing it too hard and just not settle in my hands. So yeah, just I think usually out of the 4 weeks, if you watch my blocks, one of those weeks is a good example of a deadlift. There's just other things that I'm doing that I don't know why I started doing it, but I just started doing it.
Yeah. Well, I think you're an example too of someone who like you're not like super neurotic at least. It just seems like you are very hard on yourself. Like you could do something and just look pissed and everyone else like in the Instagram comments or like even like group chats are all like hyping you up like that was amazing. You're like you can see you're just visibly mad. You take off the belt and lash it and it's like bro just pulled 800 and he's upset about it.
Yeah. It's not I do get that a lot. It's not me being upset. I don't know how to describe it, but I just feel like celebrating and like going crazy in the gym. I'm 32 years old. I think actually that's the answer. 32. I don't know, 32-year-old gym guy just like screaming and like saying let's go and like jumping up and down. This it doesn't have it shouldn't happen.
So do you think about doing it and then you like remind yourself like nope, we're 32?
Yeah, like my 32-year-old stops me. No, I don't think so. I do it when I really, really, really want to do it. And like people say, like it doesn't seem like he enjoys training, or it seems like he's always pissed off, and it seems like he's hard on. Like I guess I am kind of hard on myself, but I would like just implore you to watch 2022 Vegas Nationals where I pulled 787 and see my celebration then. Like that's genuinely me happy
Yeah.
because it's a competition and that was a great moment in my career. That's worth celebrating. And yeah, I celebrate when things go right. I mean, there's and also there's the powerlifting side, but then the Bears are playing and the Cubs are playing, and that's yeah, like I get very emotional after that. So that's also because I'm 32.
Yeah.
It's okay to be very emotional about your sports team when you're in your 30s.
Yeah, it's allowed. Yeah, I mean, if you go to like any bar anywhere, you'll just see everyone like watching like the Super Bowl or anything. You just see all the reactions. I was gonna
Well,
say 2022 Nats when you did your that deadlift. That was when you like jumped over like the barrier, right?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. That's
not
I was
recorded.
there. Yeah, I was there
Yes,
in person.
yeah,
That's when we.
not recorded. So people in the warm up room got to see it. Not anyone else.
Oh wow! But they didn't like they didn't pan with you.
No, if they did, it would have just took away from me pulling into second place, and they would have
Yeah.
just shown that on repeat, and I would have never escaped that one because I ate it on that barricade jump.
Yeah, I remember watching live. I don't remember like the full detail because we were like a few rows back, but I remember how excited you were. I didn't see you actually fall. Did no one get the video?
No, they were trying to get security camera because it was in the back. Yeah, it was all the way in the back of the warm up room, and yeah, no one in the crowd would have saw it. I mean, it was just like
Okay.
only in the warm up room. So, yeah, I remember getting off the platform. I mean, that was a great scene too. That Vegas crowd was awesome. And I just remember the crowd, like I never seen it before. Like at least as me as competitor, like I just saw like everyone standing. Like everyone was standing up, and that was the last thing I saw. And then I hugged um, Charlie Villanueva, and I went back and I just saw a barricade, and then I saw a chair. So I'm like, I just ran. I'm gonna jump on the chair and then jump over the barricade, and I did. And Steve lies, and it pisses me off that he lies because he says my foot got caught and I tripped over the barricade. I did not. I cleared the hell out of that barricade. I had it by a couple of inches there. I just didn't know how to land.
Oh, you got so high up, you just
Yeah,
weren't
so
thinking
I
about
didn't know how to get my feet under me. So then I just barrier rolled off to the thing and like did like I just put my head into it. I'm like, okay, I gotta like, and I just all of it just like on the side of my head. And yeah, I'm
Oh
like, I
man.
hopefully just didn't give myself a concussion after I competed. And I actually, yeah, my ears were like ringing for a couple of days afterwards, but it was Vegas, so
Yeah, it
you
didn't matter.
natural for your ears to be ringing and your head to hurt.
Yeah, you were out like that night, right? Like you were
Oh
fine.
yeah, I had to
Yeah.
go. We did not go to bed.
Yeah.
I think I stayed out till like 7 in the morning.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I remember Vegas was that was my first time there too. And like you go into the casino and it's so bright, like the light, it's like any casino, but like way better, obviously. Like the magnitude of it is just crazy. And people are like smoking in there, which is not normal, at least here. And then yeah, it's just like you kind of lose track of time. Like you could look and it feels like 3 p.m. and it's actually like 3 a.m. Like just time is gone.
Yeah, it's a magical place.
I'm kind of
Yeah.
jealous. We had our nationals in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
imagine the fucking after party we could have if we went to Vegas.
Oh yeah.
It'd be not good.
Yeah, no, it was crazy there. It was good. That's why like I went to is like I knew a few of the guys doing it and I was like I want to go to Vegas and it's the weather there is good. Like I mean it's kind of way too hot, but it's good. Like I like that, especially being here in Canada. Like
Mm.
to experience it is nice, but yeah, the after parties would go crazy. I remember everyone was out like all the time. You could go walk into like different casinos and you just see like a bunch of like jacked dudes, jacked girls, like everyone there for
Yeah.
powerlifting.
That was like peak Pro Series time too, wasn't it? Like that would have been a crazy meet.
Yeah. That was because people stayed in the USAPL. That was like, because Worlds happened that same weekend. And I think Worlds did,
Hmm.
surpass USAPL, and which makes sense, international competition to one. But the 82 and a half session, I think definitely surpassed the Worlds session that year.
Mm.
That was all the 83s had bad meets. Minus Ina, like Ina had a good meet, technically speaking, because he almost pulled for the win, and I don't think anyone was thinking he would do that. But Delaney didn't have a great meet. He totaled like 801 worlds, and then like kind of the class of that weight class was happening in USAPL because it was Russ Noriega, myself, and Gruden, and I think all of us totaled well over 800.
Hmm.
Russ totaled like 840 or something, and I got second with like 819. So it was yeah, really good competition. The other weight classes were kind of like all, up in the air, but the 82s and a half, they were good.
Yeah, yeah, I remember that was like the big discussion too. And like we'd be out at like breakfast and then like the 93s, I think were going like at Worlds at the same time. And it was just like it was a pretty cool weekend for powerlifting.
Hmm.
But yeah, like I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, but like the USAPL when you stayed there and then your move over, I think it's pretty obvious why you moved over. Like I think it's more like the competition now. Like you look at this nationals that you're about to do, it's very stacked. Like it's the same thing as like the USAPL Nats where honestly, I think there's like what, like 5 to 8 of you that are gonna total like 830 plus, like something like that, right? So everyone's there now and it makes sense to go. But what do you think the USAPL was kind of doing wrong for like those who don't know? Because you guys had everyone.
I mean, so yeah, we on 2i Lights, like, we extensively go into like federational stuff and what we want and what they're doing wrong. And I had a podcast on like why I moved over, and it was like a thing when I moved over, just because I was Mr. USAPL for it. In spite of me, I got that label in spite of me criticizing USAPL for a lot of things they did. I was still like Mr. USAPL, and people go like, all right, well, like I say some pretty, harsh things about them. But the move, it wasn't necessarily what the USAPL was doing wrong. I thought the Pro Series just wasn't handled with the seriousness that the Pro Series should be handled with. They had some opportunities, and to their credit, um, it's usually when you have a product, the first couple times you do it, it sucks. If you look at the Super Bowl, for example, the first two Super Bowls were not like these highly publicized good things. It grew into something better and they made changes. You look at any sports organization, they got better as time went on. So the USAPL, I think they were making mistakes, but there was just another option out there for people to kind of go into, and like that's ended up being the place where people went. Like the pro finals, that was an absolute just a beast roster. You take a look at the roster of the first like pro finals, it was Bob, Ash, Petrie, Joe Bornstein, Dan Clements, and myself. like that's a very good roster that and Noriega. Right. So you have like 7 really good lifters. And you take a look at those names now, you can, those are marquee names. But they combined us with equipped lifting. And my family was actually at the pro finals meet and they had to say like nothing about powerlifting. That was their feedback. Like I kind of lost interest when the people and the equipment came out. Um, and then like the meet kind of ran too long and it's like we didn't expect it to be this long and like yeah, that's what I mean, it's not what powerlifting is. We were saying that in the back, like we should have separated equipment and raw, and yeah, it didn't make for the best viewing experience, and that was a big opportunity for them to really push themselves. But I think it was a lost opportunity there. But then Powerlifting America and the IPF, it's like I think IPF's getting way too much credit for stuff. I think it's SBD that's really making
Yeah.
good things are happening in powerlifting. Like Sheffield is SBD, Raleigh was SBD. Powerlifting American Nationals is Powerlifting American Nationals. It's the competitors who are doing it. And then the SBD does the live stream and stuff in the production. So it's not so much the IPF doing it. And but I think at that point the USAPL could have been doing some really great things. I won nationals. I did everything I wanted to do in USAPL. The only thing I haven't done in the sport is go to Worlds and win Worlds. That's the only thing I haven't done, and it's the only thing I want to do at this point. So the only way to do that was Powerlifting American Nationals, and I got lucky because I always was able to be in the federation with the most competition. Initially,
Okay.
I was going to stick at the USAPL just because I still think the IPF is wrong. It was as far as like the disagreements that they had as far as the drug testing goes. Like I do think the IPF's in the wrong on that. And I actually kind of somewhat respect both federations by sticking with their guns. But I got lucky that Russ stayed, and that caused a bunch of other lifters to stay. So I'm like, okay, I got the competition here, and now all the top lifters in Powerlifting America, and I'm there. So I've always competed against the best of my weight class. There hasn't been a case where I haven't.
Oh, okay. So yours was kind of like you knew what you wanted to do, and then it just so happened that everyone else was following suit, like just at the same time frame.
Yeah, I think initially Russ was the chip. Like if Russ would have went to Powerlifting America, Noriega would have went to Powerlifting America, then I think you would have had a couple of other lifters. Like I think Chris Perez probably would have went too, even though he was a junior at the time and he's kind of on the come up. But yeah, you would have seen like kind of a chain reaction of 83s. But I was like at the time in 2021, I'm like, I don't think I'm on their level yet. I think I'm kind of on that outside. I'm like, I think I'm better than Nori, but I like it's okay if he goes. Like, I'll just go and win USAPL Raw Nationals, get some money, earn a little bit of a check. Then I'll go to Powerlifting American Nationals. But it just worked out even in my favor just because Russ stayed.
Yeah. Yeah, this upcoming meet's going to be a good one too. We'll talk about that a little later in the podcast. But I wanted to touch on two white lights because I actually had an idea for how I was going to intro this podcast. It was like I was going to have the music play. Like I have my laptop behind my phone, which I'm recording on. And then I was going to be like, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Two White Lights. But then the audio wasn't playing. I tested it with Trevor. I'm like, can you hear it? So if I had tried, I would have looked so dumb. You're like, why is Luke smiling? But it was going to be good. I'm a big fan of Two White Lights, and Trevor actually likes Two White Lights a lot as well. I was listening from 2019. That's when you guys kind of started, right? So it was you and Steve Genovi, right?
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
so if you're really like deep into Two White Lights, my friend Robert Bain, that was the first co-host, and then he got more into multiply lifting and also just like time constraints and stuff. So I just started doing the pod solo. Steve joined fully in 2020
Okay.
when
So
all good things started happening in powerlifting. 2020 is kind of that landmark year of like content because COVID kind of forced that to happen. So
yeah, there's nothing going on, so everyone just started posting everything, and
started
then
thinking about crazy things and Steve joined in 2020, but yeah, 2019 is also when we got a big push because that was after Raw Nationals and I was able to get like a bunch of guests on and stuff, and yeah, it just
Yeah.
kind of propelled it.
Yeah, I had just scrolled back and I think I seen like all the people you had on. Like I think it was like Justin Nutt was one of the first ones, and then like Nori when he had like the Iron Man suit and stuff. I think it was that kind of time, which is too good. And then yeah, it's just like a great podcast, and yeah, big fan of it. You guys have been more recently, like what in the past like 2 years, it hasn't been as consistent, if I'm correct. Is that just like timing and stuff, like time constraints?
Yeah, because I discussed this on Massonomics too. As far as like this kind of new look at two white lights. Um, I when I did two white lights, like when we were really like pushing it hard in 2019 and 2020, especially from the time frame to 2020, 2022, I was a substitute teacher. And I did that because of two white lights, powerlifting, commentating a lot as well. So like being a full-time teacher and that just you're you're gonna be kind of neglecting one, and that neglecting would have happened in teaching, and you don't want that to happen.
Yeah.
Your easiest way to get fired, but to kind of just leave kids hanging with subs. And if teachers are listening, you know, like you just don't want subs for a long period of time. So I had time to really think about two white lights and work on two white lights with that job, but then I transitioned to being a full-time teacher, and then also combining that with being a competitive power lifter at the world, at the highest levels. It turned into we could only get one day to record, but then sometimes that day is gone because Steve also has a life, so we always had that Thursday. And then we couldn't do like emergency podcasts. We couldn't do like weekend podcasts because that's the time where that was like the only time I had to myself were the weekends. And yeah, it just we kind of both came to the conclusion that we just can't do it every single week like we did, and then cover every breaking news story. So we just kind of transitioned to the just once a month. But also the cycle of powerlifting kind of just changed. Where when we had USAPL, and because we did all this coverage for local meets and yeah, like the local primetime meets, and we would find things to like talk about. We don't really get that as much anymore. Like none of the elite level lifters compete in local meets anymore. There's only a couple. There's nationals, worlds, and Sheffield. That's the three meets, and we're not totally into having the interviews with the same people
Yeah.
repeatedly, or just being like, okay, let's interview this person on because they had a good meet. They get on the show, and they're just like, they don't really want to talk about anything, or it's just some people are great for interviews, some people aren't, and I found that out with two white lights. Like I never wanted to be an interview podcast because of that. Like,
Mhm.
interviews are tough, so and yeah, just if it's a bad interview, you just that's your fans are listening for 90 minutes of this boringness. And nobody really wants you don't want your product to do that. So we never wanted to be an interview podcast to begin with, and that it just kind of transitioned to it being once a month. That'll hopefully build up things to talk about. And so far, it's been nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that all makes sense. Interviews are pretty hard because you don't really know, even if you know the person, like in real life or on Instagram, and like you guys talk and you have good conversations, like on this, it can become kind of a lot. Like you might overthink it, I think some people, or they just don't want to talk. Like it's just not them. They're not extroverted at all, or they can't turn it on. We've had some that are like, you can tell like, oh, okay, this podcast is going really well. And then somewhere it's like, oh, like listening might not be the best. Like you can still enjoy the conversation, but just know as the listener, it might not be the best. But yeah, interviews are tough, and then the scheduling of it all makes sense. So, but I do know like when
Preview
you,
shows are a motherfucker.
yeah,
Like doing
previews
preview
are,
shows for me is so much goddamn work. I didn't realize till we started doing them. Holy crap.
Yeah, I I think we at a point we did not enjoy doing preview shows. There was a couple preview shows we liked, like Nationals, for example, was good. I mean, granted, it was like I think 2022 that was a crazy work schedule we had because we did both previews for Nationals and Worlds. And then I was commentating the sessions at Vegas as well. So it was a lot within that time frame. And like that, we were working a ton just to get shows out. But then at a point, the previous shows, because like I think you guys can experience this too. Just powerlifting preview shows are like a thing that people want, but at the same time, they're kind of dumb because people don't post their training and
Yeah,
they're
a
just
lot of
saying
people.
stuff that's like just total assumption based,
Yeah.
and you have nothing to go off of. And it's like if you're like if you listen to any sports podcast or talking about the Super Bowl preview or something, or it's just not. It's like, well, it's based on Instagram. Just you're already at this weird point because you're just going all research based on Instagram.
Yeah,
Yeah,
some like some people you have that like they're open powerlifting, they've done 4 meets and they have 3 posts on Instagram, and you're like, fucking anything can happen. And then the juniors get mad at us because we were completely wrong, I think, on almost every class where we look.
yeah, that's the thing. A lot of people come up to us or message like, "Why didn't you mention me?" And it's like, well, again, like you have like 3 meets. Like, sure, you're making good progress, but you don't post or like everything's on stories. Like, we weren't monitoring you for the past 5 months. Like, we're looking now, and there's like 700. For you, it must be even more insane. I'm sure like you would just go based off like the top 5 or top 10 nominated. But if there's like 700 or 2,000 people competing, and you have to have like an honest look at not all of them, obviously, it's not possible, but you're gonna miss stuff and people are gonna be sad about it. And then it's like, damn, like it's like a lose-lose. I think we filmed 5 hours for the last nationals, like because we did the junior one and then the open one. And I think it's good for like doing the junior one, like for them to listen. They really like that stuff. They're the people who are on like gonna listen to this podcast, who are gonna be like on Instagram sharing like sound bites and stuff and posting, tagging us, getting more views. But to do both, it was like 5 hours in one night, and we were like toasted. And then I gotta go through it after, like not edit it like crazy, but then make like a preview. Like we do like snippets of like some of what happened during the podcast to like incite people to like go, entice people to go watch. But yeah, it's just a lot of work, and you're gonna get people mad at you no matter what.
Yeah, and I would say it's definitely within that age range of juniors and teen lifters. Because we did one for collegiate nationals, and yeah, and you're right. Like that was the benefit of doing the preview shows because they really loved it,
Mhm.
especially collegiate level lifters and junior lifters. They loved it. Our one of our biggest pushes we got as far as Two Highlights being a podcast was collegiate nationals because they were pumped to hear their name on a podcast, and and that is a very good feeling, and for a lot of lifters, even if they're not juniors, just being mentioned on a podcast, hearing people who are in the sport, who are good in the sport. You have a coach, you have a competitor speaking highly of you.
Mhm.
That was a big reason why we wanted to make sure we were doing the preview shows correctly because we know that feeling. But there is, a downside of it where people are, I would say, or most times with Two White Lights, you have those occasions where people are like, mad we didn't discuss them or we got some stuff wrong. But those are in the minority as far as like occasions where it happened. I will say on the untested side, doing previews and recaps, they get a little bit more sensitive on getting things wrong and not mentioning them. That's yeah. We saw even though on the untested side, not to say they all did that, like they were very appreciative of us covering the stuff and doing the preview. They were very happy with it, but yeah, the sensitivity level was higher. It makes sense because the substances that they take does make them a little more sensitive at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially during meet time where like that would be more
Yeah.
pronounced what you're doing.
Yeah, we haven't
Yeah.
really dove into that at all. There isn't much of an untested scene in Canada though, really.
No, not really at all. Like I think there's
Mhm.
so I
We
don't
have
know the full
Zottel,
number.
like he's good,
Yeah.
but other than him, who is
Yeah,
there?
Justin Zottel. Justin Zottel, there's like a few people, but again, like, they probably if they were listening, they'd be like, why aren't you mentioning us? It's just like hard. It like competing untested here is not good. I think it's more like local level and then like even Justin Zotto's a good example. He's always in the States or like in like whatever, like wherever they're holding the big meets, right? So there's nothing to
Yeah.
do here for that. But yeah, it would be cool if they could kind of I've heard lots of people talk about it, but kind of have a better like cycle for their training, like or a competition schedule, because then people could cover it and it could be really good. Because yeah, it's like it is impressive what they're doing. It's just it's like you're covering like a bunch of like not local meets. Like this sounds crazy, but just random meets. It seems there's no like cycle. I don't think they're all even competing at the same meets. So
Yeah, it when we did Untested, it was way harder to cover the meets because we didn't have that season. A lot of them were calling for it. Now it looks like I know the ABS is doing a lot of like
Yeah.
it's actually simple what they're doing that can be pretty coverage based, but two white lights we transitioned to something else. So maybe somebody else can create their own podcast on the Untested side. That was always my thing too of like when we got accused of just not covering things. I think we initially got some pushback on not knowing much about women lifters as opposed to male lifters, and I'm like, when you say that out loud, it sounds bad, but I'm like, yeah, I will admit we don't know as much about women lifters as men lifters because I'm a man and most of my
Mhm.
friends are guys and I know those guys and their friends. So yeah, I have more insight on their training. Um, so we're naturally going to be better with covering male powerlifting. But like, I was like, hey, why don't you start your own podcast if you want
Yeah,
coverage so
Mm.
much? You guys, there's a lot of women in the sport, so
Yeah, we definitely kind of have that
start your
same.
own and then only cover women's things. And guess what? I'm not going to be mad that you don't cover my either. It's like it's actually perfect. So that's where Solana came in. It was just huge because she did that. Like you got to get massive credit to Solana because she started her own podcast that was exclusively you know um, women based, female demographic, and she comes on Two White Lights and she knows the female competitors more than we do. So it did add that dynamic for our previews.
yeah. Whenever you guys had her on, I think it was really good because she had like more insight. Like you were saying, it's like the same thing for us when we're doing like the say the open men's side preview. Like we're more likely to be friends with them. Like we have like chats with some people or like we talk to them often or see them often. And so it's very easy to have like even extra insight opposed to just Instagram and just like open powerlifting. It's like we're kind of like friendly, more friendly with them. Like we just see each other hang out. With the women's side, like we can easily look into it. But yeah, we should have a female on to help with that because they would have like more actual insight into it. And I feel like the jokes and stuff that we can make on like the men's side is because like we know those people, like we know them better. So we don't want to
Yeah, I
make a
was gonna
joke
say when
about.
we do the women, we're all like nice and say the best we can about all of them, and the men were like, "This guy's grip fucking sucks. His depth is terrible." Like we just rip them all apart.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like Luke, I mean, just at the beginning of the show, right? I'm talking about your transition to conventional. And, I know because I had kind of the struggles you had with sumo. It's like if you know the person, then it's easier to get those little things in. And if you talk to the person regularly, you know those things. That's why Two White Lights and other like this podcast is also going to be that. You guys know powerlifters.
Hmm.
That really because when you know the powerlifters, it gives you this insight that other people don't have. But I think that's what made Two White Lights good for a while. Is like, I know Ash, so I can talk about Ash a little bit more on a personal level. I know Noriega. I when I wasn't banned from getting eye contact made with Russ. I knew Russ too. Like I saw him train all the time, and I know Petrie very well. So you can talk about these things uh, way more personally because of that. And it just makes for a better podcast.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. And like I think we're now on episode 30. I think this is episode 30. We stopped counting after 20 because we heard like the statistic is everyone stops around 20. No one makes it past 20 or whatever, a big percentage. So we were like, okay, we got to get there. Now we're still going. And yeah. So we're just trying to refine it and refine it, but We also too like we're more like a Canadian based like podcast, and majority I'd say like 20 something of them have been Canadian people. We also want to branch out into like having interviews with like obviously you and then others in like or not the USAPL, the Powerlifting America, and then all of IPF. We had Shell on for like episode maybe like just like 21 or something. So that was a cool one. And it was actually funny because people were like, "That's so random," and it is because like it was all Canadians, and then it's like Shell. It's not like Angelo, like who we know, because I don't know Shell until we did the podcast, right? And he just messaged and said, "Love the podcast," and I was like, "Oh, dang!" Like out of nowhere, and I was like, "Okay, like, do you want to be on one?" And he's like, "Yes," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And then that's when we started like, "All right, now's the time to branch off," but we do want to have interviews with people from like all over like the states and then like other places in Europe, but just want to slowly branch off into that, and then also not cover every single competition, but just slowly like have like that balance between interviews and actual um, competition coverage and stuff.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
non-Canadian ones are way easy to cover. Like when we talked about Sheffield, it was just like talk shit for an hour and a half, and I don't care what I say about any of these people.
Yeah, no
Kind
one
of
will get
nice.
mad. Like I don't think they're listening as much, so
No,
we're not gonna
no,
we're
they're
not gonna
definitely
offend.
not.
No, you're not gonna offend like one of the best lifters in the world based off your opinion, or if you do, it's like they probably have heard things here and
It's
there.
also if you do end up doing it, it's there's a point where I just stopped caring on two highlights, like on who we offend.
Oh yeah.
If powerlifters want an honest podcast, a sports preview podcast, and occasionally you're gonna offend some people. Again, I think it's definitely in a minority. People who were offended or like upset at things that we said, or we couldn't have it out afterwards. I think the only person who was really upset with what we said was Pug. Yeah,
Oh,
we had a bit of a discussion afterwards, and
Oh,
I
I
just
forgot about him.
backed down on that one. And yeah, that's just like
Is
out
he
of all
still around? I
the
forgot about
like
that guy.
yeah. So yeah, that was after Vegas Nationals. Is kind of my takes on his performance, and yeah, I think granted it was like a private conversation that was had, but that was the only private conversation that I've had with somebody like post podcast. So
it was just a recap or like the preview. What was
it
it?
was a recap.
Okay. Yeah, and you
Which
just
I mean,
talked
yeah,
about
I
what
mean, like
happened.
I just said honestly what I was saying. I said what I felt, and yeah, it led to just a FaceTime or something. Yeah, FaceTime conversation with him.
Nice.
Yeah.
I haven't got that one yet, but probably soon because I've really quit giving a shit on a lot of these.
Yeah. Do you think you've gotten like people to dislike you just because of being on the podcast and giving your opinions, Angelo?
Yeah. I think a couple people kind of turned or a little bit just have a sour taste towards me now. I'm not sure. I think that's why Russ kind of started to just I don't know how to describe it, but he went on that unfollowing spree. But then, I've said on the podcast before, I went to the gym a couple times and he trained at Iron Sight and he wouldn't say what's up, didn't say hi to me, and prior to that would always, we would say hi to each other. But I mean, as competitors, we're pretty cordial. I congratulated him after he won nationals. I told him good luck at Worlds when I saw him at Iron Set before he was kind of going out, asked him a couple questions. But yeah, it was, and we like worked in together once on deadlift, but very different from 2021 when we worked in with each other on squat when we were training at Corrupted. I don't know if it was something I said on Two White Lights. I know he doesn't listen to Two White Lights. He might have got some information or some sound bites from people that he knew. Yeah, I think potentially Atwood too. I don't think was thrilled about some of the things I said about him on Two White Lights. But hey, I'm not doing Two White Lights to make friends with other popular power lifters. I'm doing Two White Lights to talk about what I want to talk about on podcasts. And this news for powerlifters who get offended on these things. If I'm saying it on Two White Lights, a lot of people are saying it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A lot of people are saying it privately in group chats. A lot of people are saying it privately in conversations. A lot of people are saying it just in general. I'm saying it on Two White Lights because that's kind of your job as a podcaster is, especially if you're covering sports, is to speak honestly and not worry about hurting friendships with other people. Uh, yeah. I think, yeah, there was a couple people who liked Two White Lights, and when we said some things about them on Two White Lights, they no longer like Two White Lights. And it's a very funny thing. I think I talked about at the end of the last Two White Lights episode was, when I was starting in powerlifting and becoming like a personality in powerlifting, people said the same thing, and people still say the same thing. I love how blunt and how honest I am and how I tell it how it is. And when I continue to do that,
And they don't
sometimes
like.
people don't like what I said. I'm like, oh, okay, so you like when I'm blunt and honest about other people. Like when it happens to you, you don't like it.
Yeah.
You can't like me for the thing, and then it happens. You'd be like, oh, I don't. What was that about? I do.
Yeah, it's
No, that's what I
consistency.
do.
No, I like the way that you do it too. I haven't heard anything bad about me yet, but we'll see. Just need to do better, and then Angela will start attacking. But no, I think it's good. Like the way that you do it, it's better than just like it's a fine line, right? Like for us too, especially being Canadian based and the only people talking, like if we like brought a strong opinion about a lifter, then like it kind of could seem like we're attacking them. But I do think like if it's the general consensus of everyone, like speaking it is not a bad thing. Like it's just usually reality. So if the reality is hurting, like then at least it's like an awakening maybe to you, like, oh wow, that's how I'm perceived, or like that is true. Like I have a horrible grip problem or like whatever was brought up, but it just depends on how you take it and like the state of the person when they hear it probably, right? Like if they were already like feeling like not good, they were upset or training wasn't going well, and then you say something, they're gonna be like double down extra hurt or yeah.
And also, like we are totally up for like apologizing to people, and like the times where I would apologize or say I understand why lifters man. If we just completely get something wrong, we have gotten stuff wrong, and hey, our bad. We'll try to fix it. Like that was completely our mistake. And then also listening on my perspective, because that's the other thing that I think people forgot along the way is I also powerlift, and I also do it at a high level. So I'm mentioning getting mentioned on previous shows too, and I'm could be potentially up for criticism as well. And I remember listening to the future of powerlifting. They did a thing with King of the Lifts, and there was a couple preview shows of nationals, and I could just tell they were just a little hesitant to say things that were happening with my training. And all the things they were saying though was accurate. They were like he's tempos his squat a little bit that could potentially cause him to get red lights. Like I think it's like I don't know, it's looking a little higher than usual. I'm like that's a totally fair thing to say about my training, but I could tell just based on their voice that they didn't quite want to say it. No, it's okay. You can say it. Like if I don't know if you just said things completely incorrectly, then I would get mad or probably call you out on it or just have a conversation with you. It's like that was wrong. But no, if you're analyzing my training and then giving your thoughts on it, I'm never going to get upset. And I told Adrian Davis this at Nationals. I was like, you're doing really good stuff with podcasting right now. Say the things that you want to say. If you want to say that I'm squatting high in training, say it. Be definitive on it. Just be. If people get mad, it's good because they're listening to your podcast.
Mm.
They can't get mad if they're not listening.
Yeah.
So that's the approach I've taken with Two White Lights was people are getting mad because they're listening to the podcast, and I will constantly reiterate it's the minority. Most things that we got for Two White Lights from other lifters have been positive. It's like I could probably count on one hand how many people got upset with things that are said on Two White Lights where they just don't like me.
Yeah. And when you're going into a podcast like that, are you considering like, okay, if I say this, like they're gonna be mad, or you just look at it as like this is the fact in my mind and like what the people are thinking, so I'm just gonna say it like
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think I tell Steve, well, I'm like, I'm probably gonna piss off Atwood with what I'm gonna say in this one, but I have to get this off my chest
Yeah.
because it was post Sheffield where I was saying something needs to change in his training. And I stand by that. I think something need and what happened? He moved up a weight class.
Mhm.
That to me is a big change.
Yeah.
And he's apparently mad about what I said. I think he brought up on King of the Lifts. It's going to get a mention eventually on that on King of the Lifts, but whether it be that or what else. Then he forgot my name a couple years later.
Magically.
Yeah, so he is something needs to change, and then I think he got mad that I said something about his coaching as opposed to him, which is fair. It's a fair thing, but he moved up a weight class. Personally, I don't think he needed to. I still think he could have stayed 74 and had, you know, success and compete like with Perk, because I don't think he was ever an oversized 74. Definitely not what Luke was, for a while. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, but I said something needed to change because Atwood is not a lifter who has 30 kilo drop off his total. A lot of
Yeah.
that is wrapped in a compliment because Atwood is one of the best lifters of all time. Some people can't consider him the best lifter. If you're looking at accolades and accomplishments and when he was, pound for pound GOAT for about a 3 year stretch is very hard to do. So, I think it was a fair assessment of what took place, but I just told Steve beforehand, like, yeah, I'm probably gonna make Atwood mad. We're gonna have to roll with the punches here. There's other things that we can't say because we know something, and it's private. That's
Mhm.
kind of the big challenge with two white lights sometimes. It's like we know this thing, we say it, they're going to get mad because it's a private situation, and we're like, okay, we just gotta like not say anything, and it sucks.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
is actually good journalism because if something is that they don't want to get out and you do it anyways, you could be up for some issues. So we do a lot of bad journalism, and that's actually good journalism is not talking about something that's private to people.
Yeah, I don't think it's that deep. Like I think maybe at like a high level of like podcasting or like you're looking at millions of views, millions of dollars, like people sometimes would do like say the things they shouldn't, but it's like no, like we're all friendly here and you're doing a like a podcast that I mean you probably did get a lot of views, but it's not like there's nothing to like go against people and what they want to hear, what they want public. So I was gonna say too for the Atwood one, I think it was valid. I don't remember exactly what you said, but obviously something did need to change. So I don't know how you said it, if that's what bothered him, but I don't think it's a bad take at all.
It was less of a critique of Atwood and more on TSG. Which, if you're a coach and you're in sports, you are subject to the same amount of criticism as the athletes, if not more
Mhm.
so,
Mhm.
because they're the one actually competing and you're the one calling the shots. So you're going to be subject to the criticism as well. I mean, it's all fair game though. If Atwood got upset with what I said about TSG, that's totally he could be totally right about that. It's all as fair, but yeah, I just noticed him. We again one of those guys where I had discussions with. We were cool, and now it doesn't seem to be the case. But I mean, I've had a lot of this general issues with things that he's done, and I talk about it in two white lights.
Do you
Like
think
I,
it's
I
gonna be
didn't like how he
awkward?
pulled out of Powerlifting American Nationals, and I spoke about it. Of course, like he has his reasons. It's what you do on podcasting. You talk about things that you see in the sports, and I yeah I if he wanted to pull out Power of the American Nationals the year before, I thought he should have got. I just thought he should have gave Perk more of the flowers that he deserved, and I thought that YouTube video didn't mention that he's dealing with injuries. That's totally fair. Not spending $900 on a flight, and that's what it was to Reno, and not competing totally makes sense to me. But the reason is you have an injury and you have to acknowledge that Perk is the better lifter and you can't beat him injured and it's going to be very, very hard to beat him healthy. because he said he's feeling the best he's ever been, but it just wasn't enough times. Okay, you got to say Perk is the reason why you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because if Perk wasn't there and he was feeling the best, he would have gone and competed, got his world spot, and been good. But Perk was the better lifter. I just like when I was going through my injuries in Raw Nationals in Memphis when I won, I was like, I want to be healthy enough to compete for podium because that's worth competing to me, is competing for podium. And I was kind of like, if I can't do that because those other lifters are better than me and I need to be, I would acknowledge how much better they are than me. Or I would acknowledge that it's like I just need to be healthy in order to compete against them and at least give them a fair shake. But that's what I would have done. Now, if he did it his way, that's totally fine. But I get to talk about it.
Yeah. Oh, that's fair. And when you're talking about for you when you were rehabbing, that was when you'd came visited Canada, but you were like really down bad. Like you couldn't even get off the bench, right? Is that the
Yeah.
time you were talking about?
Yeah, people at Make Your Mark Fitness will shout out to them. They'll tell you like the day before that deadlift session of just how brutal that workout was and how ugly it was. The owner was like, "Dude, are you okay? Like, you can't pick up like dumbbells like without grimacing in pain." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. Just once I'm done with the lift, it'll all kind of like go away, and then hopefully tomorrow will be good." But yeah, I gotta give something to Canada because that deadlift session, that was one of the most memorable training sessions of my life. Um, because that yeah, day before I was in pain. I got right off the plane, had to go to the gym because we had plans that night for my brother's bachelor party, and I had a brutal training session. Was not good at all. Took me a long time just to get through the workout. It's got to be the Tim Hortons because yeah, I had some Timbits in the morning. I had a coffee, and I benched. It felt good. And then deadlift, like everything felt the same. Like I still felt pain, but I pulled 683, and I just remember like the pain just not being so bad where I just couldn't, continue my workout. It just was a consistent pain, which was good. And after that, like training session in Canada, it was just,
He was back.
I just remember that, and it was just it was a really good environment too, like a very positive environment. Just the owners being there and stuff. It was nice.
Yeah, they're really nice over there. Yeah, they're a good gym. And you, I think it was like a few sessions before that, like you were struggling to even deadlift like two res or something. Like it was like
Yeah,
really
I had to
bad.
cut a workout at two reds. It was the week before. The week before I couldn't deadlift. It was supposed to be 683. And I couldn't deadlift. Yeah, I did two reds and then I did my one set of the two reds of like because I usually do it for five. I did one rep and then I was resetting myself to go back down and I just couldn't even get down to the weight. Like I couldn't uh just pull without there being this big pain. I would have to reset myself for about a minute and a half to 2 minutes to do another rep.
Was it your
So,
back?
hmm?
Was it your back?
Yeah, so it was like my rib, and then it was kind of wrapping into my back. So
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you guys have felt like when you sneeze,
Yeah.
and
My
like
rib
you
is
get this
fucked.
like yeah throbbing back pain. It was that.
Yeah.
No, it's still there. And I think with the injuries that happen, it's just you just get used to it, and
Yeah.
the movements that you do, you get better. But every time I squat, I still feel it. It's just it was the initial part of the injury, and it was just yeah, couldn't get off the bench without pain. Had to like restructure my workouts where I would bench beforehand because usually if I deadlifted or squatted before bench, I just couldn't bench. I couldn't get onto the bench. So yeah,
Yeah, I kind of wondered if that's what it was because I remember seeing you like coming out from under squats, and it would take you like 10 seconds. Because I had a very similar injury, and it was like the same kind of thing, but I don't think you ever like really posted and said exactly what it was.
I didn't know exactly what it was like as far as an official diagnosis. I just know that that was when I initially I worked with John in the past for like some hip stuff, but John like his didn't, and that's why the coaching from him now has been so effective. our demeanors kind of match because he comes in there with no panic of just like what's going on. He's like, yeah, it could be a herniated disc, it could be a bulging disc, it could be something. It's like it really doesn't matter what it is because we're just gonna take the same approach to getting through it. And just like him taking it like that approach, I'm like, okay, like he's just diagnosing. He's like, it doesn't matter what it is. It's like the thing is, nothing's torn, nothing's broken. Like we're just gonna have to do these things, and it's just gonna mitigate the pain for a little bit in order for you to lift properly. And yeah, like just that smooth approach. Because I think a lot of people hear bulging and herniated discs, they're like, oh Jesus,
It's over.
yeah, it's just like do I have to drop out of nationals? And he's like, no, it's you don't need to do that. Like you can lift on it. Like you can lift on it, and it's going to slowly work itself out. But it's just going to be. He told me he's like, you just got to lift at the pain for a little bit, and it's like there's going to be some really uncomfortable sessions for you. You're just going to have to do it. So
Yeah, I had kind of the same thing. It was like you just got used to it. I still feel it now, but it's not as bad. And it's just like, I don't know, it's always there, but I don't think about it. But like when it initially was really bad, it was fucking like, what the hell is this?
yeah, I think I think Joe Bornstein with that thing he had at junior nationals. I've had that too. I because when he told me the thing, because I know he said he felt like something popped on his squat. And I felt that too. And yeah, the first time it happens, it's very painful and it takes a long time to rehab out of it. But I told him, like, you're going to feel that every so often. And then the thing is, you're just going to be able to lift you're going to hit your top set still with that pain
Yeah.
happening. And then, like, 4 days later, it's going to be fine. Because I told him, like, yeah, like, that's the same thing happened to me once. I remember it popped. 2 weeks, I couldn't do anything effectively in the gym. It just had this, like, weird sensation. And then like it happened in competition at
Really?
last year's nationals, and it's just like, all right, I know what to do. Like the pain's gonna be bad tomorrow, so all we need to do is just like we just have to get to deadlifts. Like I can pull,
Yeah.
I'm like I can pull on this. We just have to get to deadlifts, and I'll be fine. And yeah, that's what happened. I just at a point, it just becomes part of you.
Yeah, at a point in powerlifting, you just almost have to be like good at being hurt almost. It sounds dumb, but like you just get so used to always dealing with something that you're like, oh well. But those first couple years of lifting, like the smallest thing happens and you're like, oh my God, it's over.
That's that. That's my lesson to a lot of lifters. Like if it didn't snap, it didn't break, it didn't tear, you're good.
Yeah.
Like if you strain something, if there's no bruising, you're solid.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll get a lot of people tell because I think a lot of people get the information from either parents, friends, or stuff, and they hear herniated disc and bulging disc, and they think you have to go to the hospital.
Yeah.
That's a big thing. Like go get surgery, go to the hospital or something, and because they see people walk around with a limp, or and they hear like squatting 600 pounds, and no, if something didn't tear, didn't break, you're good. You can train on that. And yeah, I mean Daytona Nationals too. The week of the meet, I had to hit my last deadlift session. I felt that same pull, like tweak in my hip, my glutes. And I'm like, by Saturday, it's going to be good. I just have to get to Saturday and lift on it. Then afterwards, like it's going to flare up again. But by Monday, it's going to be good where I can go into the gym again.
Yep. There's a reason they make ibuprofen.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful fucking drug.
Yeah, I think that's an important thing for people to hear. A lot of like people getting into the sport, like some of my like lifters, you also coach like for high school, right? So you probably like not that they're all getting hurt, they're all very durable, I'd assume at that age.
Oh
But
yeah. Well, they're durable because that like you guys don't even understand your age. Or you guys can like you guys can go and max out a squat, and you guys can play like a game of soccer or like basketball, and then like you can come back and tomorrow max your bench.
yeah, it wouldn't matter. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter for them. But yeah, there's a lot of younger lifters or people just new to the sport and like you get hurt, like say like the first time you ever feel back pain and then like bending over hurts and you're like, it's over, like I'm never powerlifting again, like this is so scary. I think it's always important to hear someone like you or like we've had like Eric Willis on and like just whenever there's like a high level lifter who's been doing it for long, to hear them say like, yeah, I've had many injuries that are like actually quite scary at first, but like you can just get over them, like you're gonna be okay. And it's like about that long run and realizing that the pain you feel today won't be there. It'll be a memory like down the line.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and I think just in general, like the general population, this is where I found out, like this is where powerlifting helped. The general population is dramatic about injuries and pain. Because, I'll say something like, at work or something, like I squat 700 pounds or I deadlift 800 pounds or something. And they're like, is that okay for your back? Is that good for your back? And then they'll see me limp a day or something, or like I have back pain. And like, oh, you got to stop all that heavy lifting. Then at the same, like within that week, a coworker hurts their back bending over picking up a book.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, like I'm much healthier than you and I'm squatting 700 pounds. Like my back is in a better shape than yours is. And like you and everyone's like, oh, like you gotta go home. You gotta go home. It's like you're in so much pain. Like the person who just like tweaked their back a little bit, I'm like, he's fine. It's yeah, good. It's like he's like but I mean, it just people get surgeries, hip surgeries, and they don't squat 700 pounds.
Yeah.
They just get hip surgeries, and they sit in a chair all day. And nobody talks about how dangerous that is for your back and hips, sitting on
Yeah.
a chair and doing like, yeah, it's just yeah, it's funny. People are just very yeah, like they say like, oh, it's a herniated disc. I'm like, yeah, those are fine. Like,
They
don't
probably
worry
think
about
you're
a herniated
crazy.
disc. You're good.
As long as the
I
nerve isn't being pinched, it's like it's what it is.
I agree with you. I think they probably look at you like you're crazy though. They're like, this guy's just not human. But really, it's like no, like Angelo just has been doing this forever, and he's very dedicated to this. And I'm sure you have like little metrics that you hit like each day. Like maybe like you probably track food and like you get a lot of steps and you make sure you're sleeping well and you're hydrated. But yeah, the average
Well,
person. Oh, go ahead.
yeah. Well, I mean, those it's funny, those things too, though. It's like when I don't know how to describe this. Although all those things are good, right? Like those things are going to optimize you, and you should be doing those things. Taking care of yourself, getting hydrated. But at the same time, like I go through things where I just didn't do it, and still was fine, and still was able to hit some like great numbers in the gym and stuff. And like just those little variables, like once you start thinking about those things, I think that's when it becomes a thing. Like that, I've been saying like because I used to go into competitions just um like changing things like on the fly,
Mm.
and then once like you start hearing, hey, you shouldn't be doing that, and then you start thinking about it more, then that's when it becomes the problem. And
Yeah.
like when you start being like, I think that's how neuroticism happens. Like you start thinking about those things, like, but the thought of that variable is now affecting you. Where, yeah, I just
It's
there's
like ignorance is bliss. Like when you
yeah.
don't
When I
know.
was when I was competing in the APF, I mean, granted, it wasn't super competitive thing I was competing against or competing at, and I wasn't the same lifter then, but I just remember the day before I did travel for the meet. It was in Manchester. It was 24-hour weigh-ins. Granted, I was super light anyway, so unless I was like 24 hours weigh-ins hurt or helped me. But I like the night before I went out to a nice steak dinner and I had like a couple glasses of wine, steak, and then I went to go compete the next day. And like now I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't drink the night before a meet. Like even if it was 24-hour weigh-ins, I wouldn't do any of that. But it didn't affect me at all on meet day. And it's not because
I,
I was a lesser lifter. I think it's just I really don't think that affects me.
I think Tony
I don't
Cliff
think it does.
swears by that, doesn't he? Doesn't he kill like 5 beers the night before a meet because it helps him sleep?
Who?
Tony Cliff.
See, then he's a man.
Yeah.
Like Tony Cliff is a man. He is like a bona fide man. And yeah, like I just didn't think anything of it, and I didn't think anything of it until about 3 years later. I mean, you can't do that with 24-hour weigh-ins just because, and that's your super light. Like, yeah, I probably could have done it. Like when I had 24-hour weigh-ins, and I my family went out or something, or my friends went out the night before a meet. when I was like kind of running in at 180, I could have had a beer the night before. It wouldn't affect me at all in competition. Same thing with
Mhm.
like just competing in general, because they tell you like, you're just drinking, you're 2 weeks out. I'm like, you know what, man? If I lose this meet, it's not going to be because I had a beer 2 weeks ago. And if you say that out loud, I'm like, if you really, it makes you sound like a total puss. If you're like, now you can't be drinking 2 weeks out from me. I'm like, if you're going to accredit your bad performance on you having a beer 13 days ago, like you shouldn't be competing powerlifting. Like you should not
Yeah.
be like you shouldn't be in sports if you think that affects your performance 2 weeks later. Like that's just way too much thought process going in. This
Yeah. Well, I think the one thing that people do is they have their normal routine and then they're like, okay, I'm 5 weeks out. Now everything changes, which is actually like the worst. Like it's better, like you drink, like you'll go out and have beer, like you even like have like your cigars, like you have a routine of things that you'll normally do. And then 5 or 2 weeks out, changing them just randomly isn't the best. Like might as well have
yeah,
something consistent all year round. And then like competition isn't as scary. Like you said, like the more you mentally make it a big deal, and you're like, oh, I can't have a beer here, and then you're like, well, I cut out beer for this, and now like it's more of like a meat, like it just like amplifies how scary it could be. That's the
yeah.
problem, I feel.
Well, I when we had the whole thing injury going into Memphis, and the can like going to Canada. For instance, prior to that, I was going through an injury, so I'm like, my nutrition's got to be on point. Everything's got to be on point. I got to be tracking everything. I can't be, like freelancing just by drinking. So I was like cutting out like all the leisurely stuff that I would do. And then I remember like the thing going to bachelor parties, like, well, okay, I'm dealing with this injury, but now I'm probably going to be staying up to like 3 o'clock in the morning, getting up at 7 o'clock, eight to train, and then we're going to be spending the night, having fun, drinking, smoking cigars and stuff, and then I was like dreading it. I remember Petrie. Petrie was at the gym. He's like, maybe just don't even think about it. He's like, just do it because what's going to happen is like it's one of two things. It's either your training goes so bad that you pull out of nationals anyways, or your training goes well and you did compete at nationals. So it's like no matter what, just live your life and have fun. And then yeah, I did that and I recovered. Right, like the night before I went to Make Your Mark Fitness, that we were playing cards, drinking all night. I got to bed at about 2 in the morning, got up at 7, went to go train, and I felt great. So it's like that all that stuff, whatever I was doing, didn't matter, and like that just kind of affects your brain going forward, like or my mindset going in. None of the stuff that I'm doing right now just doesn't matter with my training.
Yeah.
Like as long as I'm not like if I'm not dehydrating myself or starving myself, and yeah, that'll negatively affect my training, but. There's gonna be a couple of nights. If you're an adult, you're gonna get 5 hours of sleep.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's just gonna happen, and you can't count it on. You can't be like, all right, well, my training session is gonna be terrible, and that's why. Like, just go and try to hit your
Yeah.
confidence. You'd be fine.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is very true because some people just you're creating way more neuroticism for yourself, right? Like you're just like making everything such a big deal. But I think that there should be like things that you're aiming to do, and then if you don't do them, like it's okay. Like don't think, oh, I did get 5 hours of sleep, my session's gonna be trash, like you were saying. Like if you go in with that mindset, you're correct. Like it's gonna go bad because you're expecting it to not go well. It's like
Yeah,
I think it's a balance.
yeah, too. As soon as the session happens, you know if it's gonna be a good session or not. I'm sure you guys are used to that, where you're hitting your warm ups and you know it's gonna be like this is not gonna be good. Like this is not
Yeah.
gonna be a good squat. It's not gonna be a good deadlift. These warm ups are trash. But then warm ups feel good, and you're like, oh, well, there's no reason why this top set shouldn't be good. The warm ups feel good. None of the stuff that I would typically feel with getting less sleep or not enough food or not enough water is affecting me. So yeah, like
Yeah.
I mean, some of the session, like the first time I pulled 800 this year, I went to Austin. It was a 2.5 hour drive. I just got right out of the car and started training. Like, right? Like you don't that stuff. It really doesn't matter to yeah to do those things that go and lift.
Okay, I have a good question then. So what do you think about when someone sees like Joe or Perk or you or someone who hasn't traveled? I know you have traveled, you went to Manchester to compete, but like a lot of like European lifters or anyone else in the world might say Americans can put up the big totals because like it's close or whatever, like it's in their
Yeah.
home area. So if you beat everyone at this nationals and you earn your world spot, you go to Germany. Do you like think like your performance should be impacted a lot because of the travel, or like what do you have to say to those people?
I say, well, to the Europeans saying, you can hit one thing over here, but once you travel, I would implore them to travel every so often because they don't do it. And their
No, yeah.
arrogance of how they travel is so stupid to me. Europeans are supposed to be smart when it comes to like these things. And they think because they live in the UK and they go to Spain or something that's traveling. No, that's what we always do in America. We always go from a different state because that's America. We're just
Yeah.
bigger and we have this massive pool of people that we compete from and we have to go state to state to compete. That's our travel. And it's actually probably more difficult than yours because you have trains connecting to everything. So yeah, that's what I would say to them. Just stop being arrogant with your travel because you don't do it ever. I would like to see the Europeans come to America every so often, which they
Yeah.
never do. Never do it. They never get. It's like the one time it was in South America, South Africa was the only time Europeans had to travel for anything. So it'd be great for them to travel to America and see how their lifts hold up when they have to make a travel. And they'll find that it's really convenient because it's America and we set things up to be convenient over here. Um, the I think the factor is just how competitive our nationals is, and then transitioning from that nationals to worlds. Like I'm not setting up I mean you have to go and do it. That's why winning worlds to me is the most special thing because I know the journey it took to get there. I'm not competing against a broomstick and a cup of coffee to get to my world's team spot. Which some of these countries, that's what you do. Nationals is a formality. Powerlifting America, USAPL, it's not a formality. It's as good, if not better, competition you're getting at that level. Then you have to go and do it again. And you have to do it in this circumstance about 11 weeks.
Yeah.
That's potentially, like last year with Russ, that's potentially what you're seeing. He had to go and have a really great meet at Powerlifting American Nationals. Granted, he didn't need, obviously, because I think, he blew me and Chris out of the water pretty easily. But he had to go and go back into a training block and do that same exact thing again. And he needed to do the same exact thing again because Gerns was on that day. So that's the more the difficulty. Now, if we move our nationals back to October and we compete in June, then that kind of goes away. But when you look at this year with Joe, even Kirk too last year, but Joe's gonna have to have a really good meet. He's gonna have to stretch just a bit, or he's a heavy favorite, and I know he's gonna try to probably wrap up the meet by his second attempts. But even with doing that, it's not an easy competition. And then he has to go and do that again like 11 weeks later. And then if Atwood does it, if Delaney does it, if I do it, if Noriega does it, we all have to have a perfect meet in order for this to happen. And then we're going to have to stretch. We're going to have to hit some numbers that are third attempts that are, maybe 2.5, 5 kilos too heavy. We don't know. Let's see how the taper treats us. Let's see how the peak treats us. And then we have to go on Monday and then start the block over and then go and do it at Worlds. I would implore European listeners to try to do that.
Well, I think a good example is like Euros just happened, but a lot of those people going to World, not a lot, but I'd say a fair amount just skipped out on doing Euros because they know that Worlds is like coming up. And then even for them, it's an extra like 2 weeks. So they could have had like, if you have 11, they could have had 13 weeks to get back into it before Worlds.
Well, what did Ade total at Euros?
840.
840.
That's a pretty easy total for him.
Yeah, he took it pretty chill. And then Jurens didn't do it, and like even 93s, I don't think. Well, actually, there was like the two British guys, but like Gustav and all those guys didn't do it.
Exactly. I think when Delaney competed, Powerlifting America, or those years, it was. But you saw, actually, Delaney didn't have he would have really good Sheffield meets. His world meets were bad for whatever reason. But like in those circumstances, no, there wasn't really a competition for 83s. So you're kind of just walking into it. Same thing with Atwood. Like you're just kind of walking into this competition. You didn't have to beat anyone to get to that point. And I think like the whole travel stuff. I mean, I said on two white lights many times. I think it's overrated. I think if you're a prepared lifter, you're gonna be fine with travel if you plan things out accordingly. But I think the actual effect that people have is more of competition, strictness of judging. And when I say strictness of judging, sometimes they don't get calls right. I guess that's strict judging. They just change calls. That's not being strict. It's just not getting the right call on the platform. But that's the other stuff you have to deal with. That's more the thing that has a variable on training or your actual performance from Worlds is like those variables as opposed to the travel part. If I was going to tier it, it would be the turnaround that you have from Nationals to Worlds, the potential how tough your competition is at that Nationals, then the judging at IPF, and it kind of being all over the place at times, and then travel. It would be the third thing.
Yeah. I think they really overhype it. I remember like when Perk had done 851 or whatever his big total was at like I think it was Nationals like 2024, 2023, whatever his big total was, people were commenting like, "Oh, he's going to lose like 50 something off this when he comes like over to Europe." I was like, "50 is crazy." Like that's a lot. Like obviously if he didn't go all out maybe, but if he balled out and he lost 50 kilos or more, like that would be really bad.
Yeah.
The
I don't
travel
know.
can't be that bad.
I think a lot of things that powerlifters say is overrated, or they just overrate certain things because they do that with like local meets too. I remember Perk did a local meet where he totaled like 815 or 820. It was something crazy. At 74 or 75. And it was easy. And people are like, oh, that was a local meet. Like, well, what does it matter if it's a local meet? He's lifting the competition standards. Like,
Hmm.
you can say the judging's lenient, but if I have eyes and see his squats definitely to depth, the bench pause was good, and the lockout was good on deadlift, you can replicate that on nationals. Like, what are you talking about that he can't that he can't do that at a national stage when he's doing it at competition standard.
Hmm.
Well,
There's
it's like okay, so and then you do it at nationals, then you have this other thing of this measure of moving the goalposts that you can't do it at worlds.
Yeah.
It's I don't and yeah, USAPL nationals that year that Perk competed was probably more strict judging than IPF worlds because they were just they were making up squat rules. It seemed like at that nationals, it was. Yeah, I think people like move the goalpost, or they say, it's not as impressive because you're not going against someone. I can tell. I mean, I understand that logic, but at the same time, your competition is forcing you to be better. So, like the times that I totaled higher than I thought was because of competition. If I
mhm.
didn't have that competition, I would have took the safe third attempt
Yeah,
and just walked away with a PR total. But because the competition is pushing you so much, you put more on your total as a result.
yeah,
Sometimes too, like that's
yeah, because you have to. Like this nationals will probably be a great example of it.
yeah,
There'll be some of you guys. I mean, everyone's gonna have to push themselves to the limit. Some people will end up missing, but you can't be really too conservative here, or else you're just gonna be like way behind. And
yeah. You're this is I mean, I think all of us right now are the strongest we've ever been going into a national competition, and some of us are going to not PR our total.
yep,
It that does happen, and it could be the best. The competition we do the worst at could be our best performance ever on a platform
hmm,
because if I go in and was able to total 850, right? Um, which I think I can. I think if I just like put together my training numbers, like 850 would be a pretty safe total. That would be a 15-kilo meet PR. And there's there's no chance I'm gonna like if I'm not there's no chance I'm gonna settle for 850.
yeah,
0% chance. Like it's just not gonna happen because that means I just didn't take my third. But the third, it could potentially be like 865 to 875 range. And that is a massive, massive meat total that you're putting on, but you are your PR meat total, and that could just simply not happen because you're stretching. Now that's not a safe like, oh yeah, easy bet. I got 875 in the bank. No, I'm not gonna like be one of those powerlifters being like, yeah, that's easy. I got it. It's a stretch. It's a stretch. It has to be a perfect day in order for me to get that range of total.
Yeah. And this prep you did 867 if you like calculated those up. And that was like last block, right?
Yeah, a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, so you're in a really good spot, especially with like having one of those bigger pulls. Like it'll be like who can pull like around you, you and Joe, really, right?
Joe and actually, so as far as the lifters go, who are going to be podiuming, I don't know if you guys know Slim the Don. Ever see his handle? He has a insane pull. He's gonna be over 800. He's done like 850 on a deadlift bar before. He's
Oh
crazy.
wow.
Okay.
Yeah, he's ridiculous. I think if he just goes WRPF, he would be like, I think he'll be deadlifting 900 at 83 kilo or 82 and a half kilos. I honestly think that at some
Yeah.
point. So he's crazy with the pull. Granted, his total will put him into a positioning where he's going to be pulling for the win. He's probably going to be gunning for national record, and also Shun Jabril. He's a great deadlifter. He can be over that 800 mark as well, and he could be potentially pulling last on top of that. So, but the people who are within a podium position who have to squat and bench to kind of carry it over would be me and Joe. Like that would be like the two people.
Yeah, for the actual podium, right? Is it prime time for you guys?
Hmm.
Like is there so how many people is in that one? Like 8, 10?
I think we have it's just a flight full of 83, so I think it's 12 within our flight.
Okay.
Yeah, so they just because the amount of 83 is competing and the amount of them that aren't competitive, they put 12 in there.
Okay. Yeah, it's a
And we're
stacked
standalone.
class. What was
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, it's a standalone too, so it's just 83s and then like I think it's 63 kilo females
Women.
and maybe
Yeah.
69. I'm actually not sure on that, but it's not last year was 83s and 93s. This year is just 83s.
Yeah. I think Trevor's got to go. We can continue the talk about
I'll have a bit
Nats.
more time.
Okay, good. All right. So going into the competition, are you down to talk about like who you see as your biggest threat? I know like it could be potentially everyone, but
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, yeah, because I don't think I have a threat. I'm not the favorite, so like I can't see like,
yeah.
oh, it's a threat to like beat me. Yeah, it's not. I'm not the favorite going in. Joe is obviously the threat to all of us because he's the favorite. Um, and yeah, it's more of the conversation is like who can threaten Joe the
Mhm.
most. And yeah, like when you look at it, he's the favorite. He has the total in the gym and also on the platform. That makes him a strong favorite to win. And then everyone else is kind of going to be somewhat chasing it. And yeah, I think all the competitors there um, are definite contenders. Like, I don't think there's much that separates Delaney, Atwood, Noriega, Christian, and myself. They're just not. I would say, like, of those, Delaney's the most proven. Atwood, as far as like us knowing that he performs very well in the meets, and then also like you can pick up trends on him. Like that meet he did with 830 was very easy. His training is looking really good. He doesn't have much more other variables aside from just him training. So yeah, he would be that too. Noriega would be up there, and it's the same Noriega scouting report.
Yeah.
He has the potential to win. It's just whether or not he can put it up on the platform. So it's like we've seen it a lot, and it's just the same thing. Because there's going to be a day where he does it. It could be this one. It could be the next one. But yeah, he has the same scouting report, and as often does. And then I think the people who don't get enough credit or discussion right now are Chris and Jin
Mhm.
because they've only been improving. Like they've only you've only seen improvement meet to meet from them, and yeah,
Yeah,
you don't see a whole. Like Jan occasionally has a down meet, but
yeah, and I think Chris is coming back from the injury right now, or like slight. He was just hurt,
seems like it. Seems like, but
but
I know from experience, like you get
yeah, it
3
doesn't
good
matter.
weeks of training, that can put you just back where you were. Like it just and like I'm looking at his training now. I see some of the lists like that was smooth. It 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 doesn't see it. It can carry you into a meet. Granted, you know after the meet, kind of at the ramp, you have to be really careful um, about building up again. But yeah, I think his training right now, and a lot of good signs going into the
Yeah.
meet.
Oh, he definitely looks more alive again. Like underneath heavy loads, like he looks more confident. The pull looks great, and the bench is like I think the bench has been around for him. He's a great bencher, so he'll be good too. And then Sean Jin, yeah, it's just so crazy how many strong guys you have in that class. Like if everyone was just putting up their best numbers and like say like you couldn't miss, like everyone's total would be like 850 plus. It seems like at
Yeah,
least.
that's why I think like 850 would be yeah like a comfortable number for all of us, which is crazy because it is you're looking at it aside from Noriega, that's huge meet PRs for all of us.
Mhm.
Minus Delaney, I guess Chris is only a 5 kilo improvement, I think, or 10 kilo. Which is still, I mean, if you're at this level and you're total, it's like it's only a kilo PR. You ask any of us at any other time, yes, of course we're taking 5 kilos at this level on our PR.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like great because you put together
Yes,
like your best lifts and then you improve. Like that's hard to do.
yes, it's a hard thing. And when you look at the sport, people don't like, all right, this is 5 kilos, 10 kilos, 5 kilos, 10 kilos. There's often those stagnant points then too. I mean, like Raleigh is a good example. I guess I told people like that was the best meet of my career. That was the best meet of my career, and you know, I was the worst 83 that day.
Mhm.
You know, you put 15 kilos on a total. That's great, and I was
Yeah.
still the worst 83. So it's like you know, people, yeah, it was a good meet, good job, and but you don't get as much credit for that. Say at Memphis, where it was like my third best meet of my career, and I won. And you get all the praise. You get all that. It was my third best meet.
Yeah, it's funny when that happens too because everyone could be so happy for you and you're like, yeah, like I'm happy I won, right? But I also didn't put up one of my best performances. Like you kind of probably thought you were going to do better, right? So
Yeah,
it's like a balance between the two.
yeah. Well, especially Memphis too was like, you know, I won that meet, and I was very proud of myself, you know, from it. But you know, it was not like Vegas. Like Vegas, I was like the jubilant after the
Selly.
meet
Yeah.
because it was such a, yeah, the celebration, the barricade, and you know, I was just so because I I put a lot. I put 10 kilos on my total. I had a pull that I didn't think I would do. I was thinking that day like 771 to 782. So 787 was the stretching number, and you know I was able to get it. And, like yeah, but I got second. And
Mhm.
that's the thing. Like you don't like that was probably like the most happy I've ever been after meet too was 2020 after the Arnold when I pulled the American record, and I was seventh in the world at that point, or seventh in America at that point with my total. Like
Yeah.
I don't think I even broke the top five, but that was the most happy I ever was after a meet. So it's just because I put like 40 kilos on my total.
Yeah.
It's a great feeling, right? Like
Yeah. Yeah, you
yeah,
feel unstoppable after you do that. You're like, okay, well, this trajectory is beautiful that I'm on. And it doesn't matter if I'm ranked 10th or 7th or 5th. It's like, well, if I keep being on this trajectory, like, this is it. Feel really
yeah.
good. Yeah. And then for this one, like, obviously the goal, win, go to Worlds and represent America. I think Pete, you've talked about this before. Like, you're Italian. Would you be able to like go? Are you like a dual citizen or something? Like, if you ever
No, I'm
wanted
not. I'm
to?
not a dual citizen. Um, my dad definitely frowned upon that because because my relatives, some of them are dual citizens, and they're like, if there's a draft in Italy, if they get themselves in a war and they start drafting out of you're part of that population. So you can just be drafted into a war and have to go and fight in Europe or something. Like, yeah. So my dad was like, and he also came to this country while there was a draft taking place in Vietnam. So
Oh, wow.
like the draft thing was very real. Like it was a real thing that was
You
happening
experienced it.
around him.
Yeah.
So yeah, so he's like, that's stupid. You're not getting dual citizenship for
Mm.
that reason. Um, I somebody asked me at the gym. I would if the FIPL called me and was like, we want you to compete at our nationals, and we would be happy for you to represent Italy. Then, because they reached out, I would feel like it's one of the biggest honors you could
Yeah.
have, and I would accept. But I wouldn't go and try to like do it myself. You know what I mean? Like ask them just because I personally, yeah, I don't like those. That is their country. They live in that like the 83s. They live in that country.
Mm.
They they are representing Italy more so than I am because that is their home country. And I feel like yeah, that's kind of taking a world spot away from them. But if like the competitors are like, yeah, like it would be great if you represented us and I get to wear that singlet. Yeah, like if I got to wear the blue, and yeah, the Italian singlet, that would be a massive honor. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't go out of my way to try to compete at another country just based on my own decisions.
Yeah. Yeah, I could understand why you'd feel like not so good about that. Like the people that have been training potentially like 10 years or so, and they're like about to get that world spot, and you can maybe go steal it or like
Yeah,
take
and
it from
then
them.
yeah, and then like an American guy who's has lineage. Like I wouldn't want to do that, especially with my and also my utmost respect for the Italian, um, for the Italian national team. I have just tremendous respect for them just because of one, how good they are and how much powerlifting is growing, and also how, yeah, they're good. Like
Hmm.
they have a great powerlifting culture in Italy, and they're getting up there as far as just getting some competitors in the mix. So yeah, I have too much respect to go and do that. Just do it so I can go and go to Worlds. Yeah, way too much respect for them.
Yeah. Yeah,
That would
we
I
were
mean that is my I would that is would be one of the things of going to Worlds. That'll be the first thing I do. I would just go to the Italian powerlifting team, and just talk to them, take as many pictures I can with them, try to hang out with them, like pre-meet, post-meet, all that stuff. Try to set up things where they come to America, where I go to Italy, because that's I'm huge fans of them.
yeah. Yeah, it's awesome like going to Worlds and then getting to see everyone, and especially for you getting to see the Italian team would be really,
Yeah,
really cool.
yeah. I would give them the shirt off my back. Like that would be the team that I just make a beeline right towards, and I'll get a bouquet of flowers for them. I think that'll be a very
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
classic
that'd
thing.
be awesome. Yeah. And we went to Italy. Well, I did, and Kyle, who's not here, we went to Italy with a few friends because I have a lifter that I coach out there. And we stayed like in Florence, and then we went around, and it's such a beautiful country. And yeah, the powerlifting scene is really growing. We wanted to go to, I think it was the gym that Corolla Gara was training out of. It was one of the top lifters. I forget because it was like 2 years ago, but there was some bad flooding, so we didn't get to go. So I was kind of like bouncing around like just like normal commercial gyms. But yeah, you can see like there's people in even in those gyms who are getting into powerlifting, and yeah, it was just a good vibe over there. I really liked it.
Yeah, I know. Was it Vikings Veneto? Veneto, they have a really big, like a lot of the top lifters come out of there, and that's like kind of the gym. I think is pushing a lot of stuff, but yeah, and I think another one's Pisano. I could be wrong on
Mhm.
that. But you're starting to see more gyms out of Italy, and it's been great to see.
Yeah.
I'm just very happy. And yeah, one day I would really love to go there and yeah, obviously to visit family, but then to train like in those different gyms. That would be cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's really cool. Like you were saying before about like the trains going everywhere. Like when we went, like it was so easy to get from place to place. Like we went to Venice on the train, and then you can go to like Rome or Florence or like anywhere. Just like these really good trains that just like doesn't take a long time. You can get everywhere. You could just, I mean, you have family there, and then go check out all those gyms. It's very, very cool over there. I loved it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, because my family's from Calabria. I'm not sure if they have a lot of powerlifting gyms in Calabria. I know Veneto is up north, like up north.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that's still a bit of a trek to go to the gym. But I know Body has a couple of powerlifting gyms too, and that's a little bit closer. So yeah, it's throughout Italy, you're starting to see more powerlifting gyms take place. So it's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's really popping up in like all of those European countries. Like we know about the rise of France
Oh
and
God, the rise and fall.
oh no.
Yeah, they might have gotten their little the rise of them overtaken by the British, which that's got to
Yeah.
make the French really mad
Yeah.
because that's I mean of all the countries to do it, the British
Yeah.
like that's
Yeah,
their rivals historically speaking.
Yeah, the British team is getting amazing.
yeah. The
Like,
Brits are
and
nuts.
even if you're just like on Instagram and you look at like I'm sure you follow tons of like powerlifters from over there, just like so many strong people. And it's actually insane. Like it feels like it really just happened over the past like 2 or 3 years. Like they have that rise that we've heard about from like France. It's real. They're blowing up
They're
over there.
so and I think it holds more water for them because they have more males
Hmm.
Hmm.
who are competitive. And I think eventually you're going to see like a rise of female lifters from there too. But you're
Hmm.
seeing it from the male side where French was the female side, and then the
Yeah.
male side was like like it was they had like Pana, Florentine. That's about it.
Oh, they had the super heavyweight guy that passed away. Yeah, I can't remember his name
Stanley.
though.
Yeah, yeah,
Stanley,
very
Big
very
Stanley.
good lifter. But
Yeah.
same time, like Pana and Florentine was kind of like looked at, especially like his rise throughout the juniors. Like he's going to be potentially next one up as far as 105s go. And like, because I mean, you're just, it's got to be you're podiuming or winning, right? Like, that's kind
Mm.
of how
Yeah. Yeah, now it's the British team. They're looking really good. And Nonzo, like during the time of filming, Nonzo just competed. And I think he put up what is it, 970 or something?
965, I think.
Yeah, incredible. And he had
Which
apparently lots of room on the pole.
and what Bob totaled what around that last year to win worlds,
970, I think.
and this kid is 20. That's nuts.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just a kid. Unreal stuff happening over there. But it's good. It's good to see. But yeah. Well, I mean, man, thank you for coming on the show. Is there anything else you want to talk about quickly before we wrap it up?
No, not necessarily. I yeah, I was trying to think of I mean, you sent me a couple of notes there. Did we
Oh
cover
yeah,
everything?
no, let me have a look.
I didn't
I was
even
just
look at
in
the
the
notes because
convo.
Angelo's so good at talking.
I know, that's what I said. I was like, Angelo, should I make some notes? And he's like, don't worry, we'll just converse. And then I made a few for like me and Trevor to look at, and then I forgot about him.
Yeah, I didn't even write
Oh,
notes.
actually, this one's a good one. So you have a big amount of lifters that you're going to be competing with, like some huge names like Taylor, all these guys, right? Are you most nervous to be competing against Blake Barrett?
Oh, I'm not. Well, is Blake Bears 74, right?
No,
I
no, he's
think
not
he's doing
cutting.
83.
Oh, he's doing 83. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Too bad he's not prime time. He would definitely throw. He would definitely. His presence would definitely throw me off on the platform or in the
Yeah.
warm up.
Yeah, in the warm room for sure. Can you
Have you
imagine we
met
didn't
Blake in
tell you?
person? I'm sorry.
What's up?
I said, have
You
you
go.
met Blake in person?
I am not. No, and we've had like I don't know. I feel like it would have happened by now because he comes to America quite a bit. I think there was a
Mm.
time where he's in Chicago the same time I was in Chicago. And we just couldn't
Mm,
like this make it happen. Yeah, and I was in Toronto. Oh no, actually, was that what happened? When I went to Toronto, I think he went to
He
Chicago.
was,
He
yeah, I
lives in
think
New
he,
York, doesn't
That
he?
was a very weird thing that happened. I'm like, well, that's just a strange.
yeah, coincidence. No, you got lucky, man. That's what that is.
Look, doesn't he live in New York though now?
Yeah, he lives
I,
in
A
New
couple
York.
of years.
I
Yeah.
believe. I thought he was, but like he
Yeah.
Yeah.
was in Miami a bunch of times. Like he goes places. At this, I'm like, I thought I would have eventually seen him at a place. Like never met him in person.
No, it's special.
Yeah.
That's about all I
It's
can
I
pretty
say.
talked about it
good.
over the phone once. I remember had just had a. It was during COVID. We just had a FaceTime
Okay.
conversation. It was nice. Uh, yeah, it was very unlike Pug's FaceTime conversation. Uh, it was just two friends talking. But yeah,
Yeah, Blake's good. It would have been funny if like say he was actually competing in the same session as you, like to meet him there.
yeah,
Blake's he's an interesting guy. He's good though. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's fun. And then the last thing that we wanted to just touch on, we touched on it briefly, was we talked about like maybe making enemies through like the podcast world and just like speaking your mind and you're pretty blunt, but like I said, I think people really love it. Some people don't. Do you think with you and King of the Lifts, like there was, was it anything you said? Like, do you know what happened?
yeah. So yeah, as far as it's one of those things like they don't post me, but then
Mm-hmm.
I kind of feel the love still from like because I don't care if King Lifts posts me, especially at where I'm at in powerlifting, right?
Yeah.
Like I can understand if I was a young up and coming lifter, and I was posted on King Lifts a number of times, and they definitely helped like my following. Um, Granted, the most amount of followers I've ever received at once was because of Russ. When he posted like the deadlifting like the other deadlifters or whatever video it was, I got like 120 followers in like an hour.
Oh wow.
And yeah, like throughout, like I think I went up 1,000 that day. It was just insane. But yeah, like they posted me enough. They had me on the show. At this point, you post me on the page. It's not doing a lot for my career. Granted, it's like part of the narrative thing potentially that I could be removed from, but even that's okay. Like I don't know. I don't care about it as much. And also like the real ones kind of know, right? You see in
Mm-hmm.
the comments, you see some other lifters being like, "Yeah, Angelo's looking good." You have Noriega on the show. Whenever Noriega's on any podcast, I listen to it because I really like just listening to him talk. He mentioned me, Joe mentions me, so it's like the good lifters mention. Um, but I think it's my own fault that I'm not posted on King of Lifts because and we had the discussion about preview shows, right? Of this, how important preview shows are to like certain types of lifters. And I remember it was Vegas Nationals. Their preview show for Vegas Nationals was trash and it was lazy. They just read off the nominated totals, and I don't personally care. But then, you know, if you're going to coin yourself the voice of powerlifting, and you're going to really cover the sport, and people from USAPL who are competing at the nationals for the first time, and I know that point where you're into the top five, and you're like, okay, I'm on prime time. This is big for me. Like it's an exciting thing, and then on top of that, you get the preview shows talking about you. Maybe they're setting your training, and then I listen to the podcast, and they're just going off of nominated totals, and that's all they were doing was just talking about nominated totals. It's clear they didn't do research. I wasn't happy about that. I got really mad because they said Perk was the favorite, or not Perk, Pug was the favorite to win 74s that year, and I'm like, this is how you know they didn't do any research because it's just off of nominated totals. Pug put in his nominated total from like a year before. It
Yeah.
wasn't even it wasn't even total at Daytona because he did trash at Daytona. It was from like 2019 Nationals or something. It was like his best total that he put in, and that put him at the top of the list. And I'm like, no, the favorite going into that meet was Eric Lapointe and Joe Borenstein.
Yeah.
They love Joe Borenstein now, but it would have been great if you were doing research when he was an 18-year-old. That's like, and I read it, or I was like, Steve was telling me like they somehow covered the entire thing in 60 minutes, and I don't know how it's possible because it's like a 2,000 person meter. I mean, it's just so many people competing and so many primetime sessions. So they made a post about me. It was I think it was the last time it was ever posted, probably, about my like last poll. And then I just commented, "You put more effort into this description or the caption than you did your entire podcast episode." And I mean, it was public. I called him out. I could have done it privately, so that's kind of like on me. So it's my fault, because if you're Ryan, be like, okay, if that's what you're gonna do when I post you, then I'm just not gonna post you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then that's why it's fine. And I mean, if you want to like I guess if you like kind of take me out of a narrative completely, like if they do preview shows, which they haven't done, like he still mentions my name and stuff on the podcast, that's fine. But I will say this: I have confirmation that he will not post anything related to Two White Lights on King of Lifts, and so that pisses me off for a different reason. And that's where I do have a problem with that. I like not posting me, whatever, or not posting Two White Lights stuff. Of course, you don't need to post Two White Lights stuff on King of Lifts. If you don't want to, that's fine. And I won't name any names because I know like it was a specific thing, but it was a really cool video a lifter made after nationals, and like it had a lot of our audio because we did preview shows for this lifter, and it was a cool video. And like some like people are tagging like, "Hey, King of Lifts, post this. It's an awesome video." And they wouldn't do it, and the rationale was it had our logo and it had too much of our voices on it, which again I'm cool with. If that's your brand and you want to promote another podcast, that's totally fine. And I'm okay with it because we got our popularity without King of Lifts help at all. Right? Like we were able to rise in the ranks as far as podcast goes and like a media outlet where I actually think at a point we surpassed them for people to like listen. They wanted to listen to highlights more than that. So we don't need any of that extra publicity. My problem is that lifter doesn't get a spotlight because we were doing our job while you weren't doing your job. If you wanted your audio on that lifter, then you should have made your own preview show covering that lifter and doing the research. Don't punish another lifter or get mad at another, or not get mad, be like, "Hey, sorry, can't do it. It's got somebody else's audio on it." You're going to have to bite the bullet on that one because we did your job when you weren't doing it. So if you want your audio so bad, make your preview show and cover the entire sport, because that's what we were doing, and that's why our audio is there. Hell, your audio could have been better. Your commentary could have been better. Your takes on that person could have been better. But I'm not going to stop the spotlight, and that's what it is, right? It's a repost spotlight page because another podcast is being featured. I put King of Lift stuff on Two White Lights. Like a Sheffield make us a collaborative post. I'm like, of course I'm going to do that. Ryan's commentating the entire thing. I mean, that's what happens. Like Ryan was doing his job. I'm not gonna like, "Hey, King of Lifts, it's a rival podcast," even though it's not. But Ryan was doing his job. It's his job to commentate. I'm not gonna not post it on the page. If a lifter makes a thing on, with Ryan's commentary or King of Lifts podcast saying things about them, they're doing their job, and we all are in the job of promoting powerlifting. So I'm not going to withhold posting those things and not mention it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, honestly, even if he did post that and it had your guys' voices and it had like your logo even like this, it's not like you're gonna then be able to take all of his like listeners, it's never that deep. Like even
We have the same listeners. That's the thing too. We have the same listeners.
Yeah.
If you're listening to Two White Lights, you're listening to King of Lifts too. It's the same demographic.
Yep. Yeah, because we had our first like Spotify Wrapped because we started like early mid-ish last year, the podcast. And then it was like, I think it shows you people who like you also listen to this. And it's like, yeah, like King of the Lifts, like Two White Lights, like Massonomics, like a few like things that I could have guessed. So it's like there's not that many people listening where like they have no idea what Two White Lights is or vice versa.
Well, and also we said that we've criticized King of Lifts on a couple of things, especially with the coverage of, the IPF and USAPL. Like I thought they were potentially like at a point also Ryan was giving a sales pitch to join IPF on a lot of lifters post USAPL nationals. And I'm like, all right, that doesn't, and we kind of made fun of that. We poked fun at it. But here's the thing. If you're a podcast and you're part of the sport, we're going to, maybe listen to those podcasts and then come up with our own takes based on what lifters say on those too. Now, if you don't like that, then don't have a podcast or be happy that you're being mentioned, because we do that with all the podcasts. Like Massonomics, we would, but they barely talk about powerlifting. If we had a take on a Seinfeld episode or something, like we would have, and we make those jokes about Massonomics all the time. I remember we got on Endurance once for, I think it was a travel thing, saying so we got on them bad for that. And then Jurgens, reached back out to me, and he's like, I just want you Yanks to come and compete, and I want you all here. And, and that's sort of like he was cool about it, and I'm not sure I saw him at last year's nationals. It was fine. It was cordial. He's a very nice guy. He is a good dude. He's super he's super super nice. But if like that's just my opinion on it. Do your job and I'll do mine. I did crack a joke at him when we were kind of just walking away, like we're talking just kind of about the sport. I'm like, oh, by the way, I'm like, don't be afraid to mention my name in Two White Lights on the live stream yesterday or tomorrow. I'm like, you're gonna have to, but you're gonna have to say my name at least once, but don't be afraid to just mention me. Because except I'm a smart ass at times too, and and all the things that happened to me, or getting blackballed from the King of Lifts or something, that's totally my fault. It is. It's but I'm not and that's why I said I'm not in the business of making friends with other powerlifters. I have my friends, and that's not why I do Two Highlights or I'm on social media. It's to make friends with people. I just act like myself on social media. Actually, you got to kind of get a filtered version of myself because I'm a teacher, so I can't be fully myself on social media. But that's how I act on it, and I do think King of Lifts at times they're concerned with being friends with other lifters or upholding relationships. Hey, that's what you're gonna do. That's just not my thing. So if my personality is gonna get me not posted on certain pages, I don't care, because I don't compete for a repost. A repost doesn't show me or tell me that I'm a good powerlifter. The accolades, and records, that tells me I'm a good powerlifter. So that's why those exist.
Yeah, especially because a lot of the posts will sometimes be gym lifts. For me, I've been on the page a few times, and it's mostly gym lifts. Sometimes it'll be a meet squat or something. But yeah, it doesn't really mean it's nice. I like it, of course. But yeah, it's more I would prefer accolades and stuff, but haven't gotten those yet, so we'll work on that part. For now, the reposts are good.
Record, liar.
Yeah. No, I got that. That was good.
That's the national record. That's yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
For a couple seconds there.
Yeah, someone else took it after. I hit it September, and then I went to go get it again this nationals, because our nationals were back to back, and I got it, and then it was taken away a few seconds later by Ben Langley. He's been around too, maybe you know of him, but yeah, no, that makes sense, because I've seen people commenting oh, post Angelo, and I know you had done I think you're the only 83 so far to be doing 7, 4, and 8. I know it's just in the gym, it hasn't been solidified on a platform, but that was huge. I feel
let's be honest here. The 4 part is not impressive. I think if I do it in competition, I'll be the only 83 squat 7 and deadlift 8.
Yeah.
If you throw in 4, it's we can bench 2. I think he'll be the only guy to do that. Throwing the 4 makes me feel good, because 400 bench.
I know how much it meant for you. Yeah.
Oh, it was a great feeling. Just to not staple me. That was the feeling. I'm because everyone's oh, bench 400. I'm dude, I think if I held 400 in my hand, it would be like I would get it onto my chest and it just wouldn't leave the chest.
Collapse. Yeah.
Yeah. So like when I did 177 and felt it that in my hand, I'm like, yeah, I can increase this 5 kilos and I can at least fight with it. At least hold it in my hand. But yeah, that felt really good. Yeah, but people are like throwing in that 4. I'm like, that's just you guys can it makes you feel good, but we all know that it's the 7 and 8 part that's
Yeah.
no one's really doing. It's like every 83 at this point is benching 4.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still opening the flight with a potential high 300s, low 400 bench.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how good all these other benchers are. They're still benching at like 30 to 40 pounds. I'm giving up a lot still.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's on the rise. I think it was stuck for like years, right? Around like the higher 3?
Well, it was 374 for a while. Even in the gym, like I would do 381, but it would be pretty sloppy. Granted, I still got to do it in competition. I missed 172 at Raleigh, and I thought I thought I was going to have that pretty easily. So you never bench is the tricky one, man. Those meet day variables affect bench more than anything. So, and that's where you kind of have to be conservative with the lift because of those meet day variables can really affect how that lift, particularly that one, moves. So yeah, it just felt great to do it in the gym. This felt good to hold it, even if it was a gym PR and not a meet PR or like a comp standard PR.
Mm-hmm.
I just felt nice.
Okay. So for that one, did you celebrate?
Yeah, I mean, I got up, I just clapped my hands, I smiled, I was happy. The guys in the gym were going on like ape shit too.
I could hear everyone else, yeah, but I couldn't tell if it was you because you were kind of like as you got up, you were facing.
That was my friend Z. Z was going off. He was screaming that, and then yeah, it was a bunch of other people like in the background. It was a really cool situation. Yeah, I was pumped afterwards, but also I had to like because I still had to pull 800 that day. So,
yeah, you couldn't like waste all the energy.
I had something else to do.
Yeah,
But
you can't like fail jumping over something and like bust your head before the 800.
yeah, I can't. Yeah, you gotta harness a lot of it. And that's the same thing with squat and bench too. Like I am a believer of harnessing energy, and I do think celebrating does. You never see me celebrate after a squat and a bench, too. It's like because I'm just thinking about the next lift. Like immediately after bench, that's kind of the thing. Like squat, I'm cool because I got maybe my squats in, and then bench is I'm still getting that tense, especially because I know how bench is a struggle for me. But once bench is over, then that's where I really like a lot of that energy because it comes out because deadlifting is more my lift and it's like I know like that's like you hit your second attempt. This is what I'm hoping for nationals, man. Is I don't think it's gonna happen this way because I'm no longer the big puller where I get to just put in like placeholder numbers. But I'm just hoping like a situation, one of two scenarios. John just saying, okay, you pull this, you win. And it's like but it's this number though. I'm hoping for that. That'll be great. Like it's like okay, it's 377. You pull that and you win. Just hoping for that scenario. Even though that's 12 kilos beyond my PR. I'm just hoping for that scenario or it's like, hey, I'm putting this number in. If you pull it, you're in the lead. After your final attempt. Those are the two scenarios I'm hoping for.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happens after that happens, but I really would like that because that moment is such a good moment. Like both times in my powerlifting career that happened, I remember it so vividly, and it's such a nice feeling because I remember Vegas. I was just sitting there, and after my second attempt, I know the drill. We're just gonna put a number on there and see how it moves. And Joe came up to me. He's like, "Okay, we can pull into third with this number, or we can pull into second for this number, or with this. Like that number is 357." And I'm like, "That's a pull for second?" And he's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yeah, do it." And then I'm like, "Wait, who am I beating?" Like Noriega. I'm like, "Yeah, do it." I'm like, yeah, it's awesome. Because I'm like, I got third before at nationals. I haven't got second, so like, do it. Like we were thinking 355 was just out of our range, and then the other one was a much better scenario where Joe and Andrew Chan, they couldn't contain their excitement at Memphis. They were like, they came, like, all you got to do, it's 2.5 kilo jump. All you have to do is pull 350 or 247 or 347. That's all you have to do. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, obviously load it. Like we have no choice. We have to load it because it's the minimal jump we can take. But they were so excited, like, all you have to do is take the minimal jump and you win. And yeah, I just remember that being the saying. Like, at that point, I'm like, as long as I don't have a horrible collapse and choke, like this is gonna be really easy.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's all I want. That situation of just that moment before stepping on the platform of like just that look in the coach's eyes because I can just tell when Joe said that with Noriega, he knew what I wanted to do, and that moment itself was just so that was great. I'm glad I took videos of that. Like I stopped like focusing on the competition and I just recorded the the warm up room before all the deadlift changes. I'm glad I got that captured because that was yeah. I mean, you can envision it. I can close my eyes and envision it, but at least I have like some video footage of just that actual moment itself. It's awesome.
Yeah, to look back on and like feel some of those feelings.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially that one, man. If I could inject that into my veins, I would.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's like some very special moments where like you can look back on them and kind of like even if you're feeling tired or whatever, you're thinking about it and you can feel the energy.
Hmm. Yeah, man. When Voodoo Child comes on, Jimi Hendrix, I just how they like big credit to the USAPL on that one. 'Cause they had us pick our own third attempt songs and Voodoo Child. I know people, especially in our age demographic, don't probably listen to rock songs in the '60s, but that got the crowd going. It got me going. Gino was loving it. That guitar intro to start off that song was good, and it, yeah, for me it was like a perfect situation. It was a great song that I really liked. The crowd was like making a lot of noise. That's a high, man. Like that feeling was just that's probably what drugs feel like.
Yeah. Honestly, it might be better. Like I know like you're painting the picture well, like one of your favorite songs, like the energy is great. You're like, I know if I do this, like what it means. Like that might be better than drugs, man.
Yeah, I mean, also like I felt everything in that situation. I felt the American flag behind me because they had the American record attempt. Voodoo Child's a great song to have the American flag like be in the background too.
Mhm.
It just works really perfectly. I just as soon as the guitar hit, it was like a wrestling pop. It felt like I could be just envisioning this. I don't know if this actually happened, but I just I remember the Voodoo Child guitar riff hitting, and then Gino saying, "This is a mirror," and then like the crowd got up and started cheering, and it's like when Stone Cold Steve Austin gets net glass breaks and everyone just gets up off their seats and starts cheering. That was the moment I felt, and yeah, I could be envisioning it just in a different way, but I that's how I envision it, and that's what I'm going to keep.
Yeah, no, that's the only version of that situation that matters, like exactly what you're envisioning right now. Hopefully, you can just like put that in your headphones and just keep singing it in your head as you walk out to pull.
Yeah. I don't know about you guys. I hate having headphones when I compete.
Oh, you don't
Like,
even use them?
I hate it. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Doing it.
Like,
That's
do
like Eric, Luke. He just
yeah.
raw dogs the whole meet, just sits there, doesn't look excited, no
Is that what
headphones.
you
Just
do? No headphones at all, like during the warm-ups and during like waiting between attempts, like
Yeah.
nothing?
I think the reason why I did that is because all the meets I had been like very sporadic as far as like connection goes. So I remember the Arnold, I tried to have my music in and the connection was so bad I couldn't get any songs playing. Um, and Also, like the feeling of headphones, like music out, and then depends on what the noise is out there. I
Hmm.
will say, hopefully, it's hopefully going to be different this Powerlifting American Nationals. Last Powerlifting American Nationals was very quiet.
Mm.
It was a pretty quiet meet, but like I actually preferred them if they just didn't have any music at all because like the music was so like subtle that it just made me a little bit. I don't know why it made me uncomfortable. The Powerlifting America Nationals last year was a weird scene because I heard like a baby crying like during one of my like attempts, and I'm like, that's not a lot of like sound happening when you hear a baby crying.
No.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, baby's crying.
You're trying to get hyped and focus in, and it's just like, what?
And
Was
it
it
was
like
a very
the
like it was a good turnout, but like they had these VIP things, and I just felt like I was just like looking too closely at them
Mm.
as I was lifting. Like I saw people in the crowd and stuff, but I just noticed these people and the people in the VIP section. Um, they they just they were just there to watch their person compete, So
Yeah.
it's like who is this guy?
Yeah, they're not gonna like really be excited for you. Yeah, I think this year it'll be better, especially that session that you're gonna be doing might be it's probably gonna be one of the most hype sessions of all time. I mean, don't want to put too much pressure
Yeah,
on it, but I think so.
yeah. I think when I was listening to Noriega on King of the Lifts, like the conversation was, you remove Russ from the equation and things change, and that is totally true. I was the beneficiary of Russ being a part of the weight class. Like I got a lot of eyes on me. Like that moment where I pulled into second, that moment wouldn't have been that moment if Russ wasn't there. Because
Hmm.
people are there to see Russ and Noriega battle. But Russ clearly has that fan base. And I think Noriega is like that second. I think the Nori fanboys are very loyal.
Hmm.
Um, to him, and he has his like pretty powerful fan base. But Russ was kind of the dictator of all that, and yeah, I benefited greatly off that. But I think at this point with Joe, what he's doing, and now Atwood's thrown into the equation, I
Yeah.
do think people are kind of underestimating Delaney just a bit. I
Hmm.
am seeing King of Lifts kind of push the Atwood narrative, which is fair, but I'm like, I'm still taking. Give me Delaney and Atwood. I'm taking Delaney. I'm just yeah. Give me the guy who's been 83 and been two-time world champion, been in Sheffield twice, did very well at those Sheffield. Give me that guy.
Hmm.
But I think yeah, the hype is there without Russ, which I never thought I would say that.
Yeah. I think it definitely is because like Russ brings his people that don't care that much about powerlifting as well. But everyone that actually cares and is a powerlifter is excited for this regardless. Because yeah, you have like you, Chris Perez, like Sean Jin, all those guys, and then you have like Taylor who's moving up, and Taylor's finally like back. He's not like plagued by injury. Delaney, two-time, I think, world champion. The
Yeah.
Sheffield performances were good. And then Joe Bornstein, of course, as well. And, like I'm probably missed a few names, but really stacked class. And yeah, it's gonna be good to see. With Delaney too, if he puts up a big squat, like I know he can, then like he's really in there because
Yeah,
Delaney can squat.
he's got a sick bench on him too.
Yeah, his
His deadlift
subtotal.
is reliable enough. I know
Mhm.
he like kind of harps on his deadlift. His deadlift is, you know, I mean, the reason why he misses because he just has to overreach on things. But when he has like a RP 10 deadlift he has to do, he gets it like more times than
Mhm.
not.
Mhm.
Every time I see him miss, it was just like weight that's potentially out of his range. Where really the only people who hit deadlifts that are out of the range are deadlifters,
Mhm.
like the deadlifters who take a lot off that taper and stuff. So
Yeah, and I think Delaney's a really good deadlifter. It's just he's trying to bridge the gap and become, or like he has to put on the big number that would make him like a super elite deadlifter. But I think he's a great deadlifter. He just needs to have that subtotal show up and then just pull what he knows he can, and that might even be enough to win. Like if he has a big subtotal, like he should.
oh yeah, his subtotal is going to carry him, and then go. I mean, it's going to be kind of still up to Joe. Like he's got to hit his two deadlift attempts, and then it's still. I mean, no matter how you look at it, that's how the sport works. For those of you like listening, I see comments on King of Lifts all the time, and the sport works. The person um who has the least amount of question marks is the person who like, typically wins. It usually happens. So
Mhm.
yeah, Joe, if he hits lifts because we know because of how well rounded he is is the favorite to win. And Yeah, if you're good at all three lifts, it really helps.
Yeah.
Like
It sounds so obvious, but yeah,
yeah.
some people just you're like,
They
oh,
don't.
if this
They
person.
neglect. I do kind of get mad sometimes, and like when I see that, like it's like Angelo's bulk. I'm like it. Yeah, but really, the reason why I'm not winning competitions is because of my bench. So if I was just a good a good squatter, good bencher, good deadlifter, all those things combined, or like I was just in the middle of the pack on bench, then yeah, I would be that lifter to win. But when you're talking about like me pulling for wins, like yeah, it's there's I don't know like if 830 is in the back pocket for the meet. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
When you have to start saying all those things, it's kind of like I always had the saying of if you have to start saying, well, if this lifter misses that, or if they have a bad weight cut, or if they have a bad meet recomp, or if they have a bad recomp or something, you
Yeah.
lost.
Hmm.
That's your ticket to losing.
Yeah. You're kind of hoping on their downfall instead of
Yeah,
like,
you're
yeah.
banking on mistakes. If you say that in your mind, that's what it is. That's why I'm like, just don't even think about lifters missing because once you start saying all that, because that's how I knew I lost Powerlifting American Nationals last year. I knew I lost it 2 weeks before the meet
Mhm.
because I saw Russ at Ironside, and everyone who was saying like, "Oh, Angelo's got a chance, Chris has got a chance," because who knows how the weight cut's going to affect Russ. He hasn't done this in a while. Then I saw him, and I'm like, he's at weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, all the variables that people were saying with Russ, he's at weight right now, and he looks really good. So the weight cut's not going to be an issue for him, and it wasn't.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a really good performance from him. Yeah. Well, we'll see in what? I think we'll put this out next Sunday, so in like about a week from when this is out. Yeah, 6 days, 5 days. It's gonna be
Awesome.
good, man. You look really good. You look really good this prep. Really handsome too.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You that's I think that's actually the reason we first like had first ever talked was I think people were like saying like, "Oh, Luke, you look like Angelo," or like Angelo, you look like Luke. And
Yeah.
now I got this little pathetic beard, and you have that
Yeah.
big beautiful
Yeah,
one.
I guess when we're both clean shaven, because I'm like looking at it now. I'm like, well, this just isn't a. We do not
Yeah,
look like each other, but I do remember like because we do go pretty far back. Because this is like
yeah,
prior to 2019, where I think we started following each other, and I
yeah.
started getting those comments that I look like you, like in 2018, 2017. So that
Oh,
makes more
damn.
sense
Yeah,
because yes, I did not have a beard at that time.
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm kind of just noticing it right now. Like looking at the
Do
nose
we?
and the
Or
eyes and the eyebrows. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Especially when we have no facial hair, and his right now is pretty big.
Yeah.
Angelo also has a very big range of like you've looked like quite different at times, especially with like the hair and like yeah, you do different like facial stuff. Like yeah, you have lots of different looks. So I look like
My
one of
goal
your.
is every meet to have like a weird different look. Just so
What are
I
you
can
gonna?
like it's just like it just so it looks I mean it is a timeline, but just so the timeline is way more extreme than it actually is.
Like wow, this guy's been here forever.
Yeah,
He's
it's like hair is all like shaved, like facial hair, all this stuff. It's like but it's really when you look at my hair from last year till now, yeah, it is like because I had the goatee last year kind of going, so yeah, it's just gonna look different.
is this the look for this year? Or are you gonna get a cut and stuff?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep this. I was thinking about doing the mustache, but the mustache doesn't really look that. It's just like it doesn't look that good. I look
Mm.
like Ned Flanders, so I don't know if I want that on the thing. I think the mustache will eventually come back, but yeah, I'm just gonna just do this a little bit. My hair is a little bit longer, but I'm planning on growing it out a little bit more again. I want
Mm.
to get a little bit longer, but I'm probably going to trim a little bit off the top here, but I'm not going to do the fade that I always do. I'm going to keep this kind of full, and I guess that would be a look I haven't done in a while. It's a no
Yeah.
fade, but still like a haircut kind of thing.
Mm. You're gonna look like Wolverine then.
Yeah,
That's a good look. He's a strong guy.
strong dude. Strong dude likes his cigars.
It's pretty much you. Yeah, you gotta rent
that's my
like a
role model, right?
Harley. Yeah. All right, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. And is there anywhere like what is your Instagram? Fortino Power, is it?
I'm almost offended that you don't know my Instagram.
Yeah, I was
I,
thinking, yeah.
That's my Instagram.
uh, it's because I'm having
Yeah,
a brain fart. I haven't eaten yet. Okay.
yeah. Well, you should have, man. It's too late in the day. It's actually very late. You're on Eastern time.
Yeah.
But
Well,
Well,
Kyle's not even up, so we're doing good.
yeah, it's Fortino_power. If I mean, it's good that you guys introduced me as Angelo Fortino because for a while people were like, "You're not 14 years old." I'm like, I never said I was. I was once 14 years old.
Yeah, a while ago
But
now.
once you were 14 years old, you're always 14 years old. But it's just that's how it works. But yeah, I did not when I made my handle, I'm like, I did not expect anyone to confuse it as 14-year-old powerlifter. Also, it doesn't mean 14-0 and does not mean 14 years old.
No,
No.
It
no.
just doesn't in any circumstance.
I actually really liked it. I thought it was unique, like Fortino, and you don't have to spell the
Yeah.
whole thing out.
When I say it out loud to people, they love it. They're like because I remember Russ when I had him on the show. Yeah, I had Russ and Noriega on the same show. What a day that was. But
Wow.
yeah, what a time to be alive when they were like totally we're all totally friends. Now I'm just really good friends with Nori. But
Yeah.
and Russ were cordial. But he was like it's like isn't your handle like 14-year-old 14? I'm like Russ, come on, seriously, you don't know my handle? And he's like, no, I know the handle. And he's like, I thought it was a meme because you're clearly not 14 years old. But then like Noriega, like in a group chat, explained it to me like it's 14. Oh, his last name is 14. Oh, it's like 14. Oh, he's like, and it's like, yeah, I got it. He's like, I just at first I thought it was like a meme thing that you were doing. I'm like, oh no, like
Yeah,
it's
no. No,
it
I
turned
think it's
into a
unique.
meme,
I
I
think it's
guess,
good.
accidentally.
Yeah. And so are we gonna see more two white lights coming up, or do you guys have plans for that or
Once a month is we've been sticking that first week of every month. We have a podcast. We did the emergency podcast because Gaston did some things, and yeah, we
yeah.
had to cover that one. But yeah, we had that emergency podcast, and yeah, barring things like that happen, we probably won't have any emergency podcast. So next podcast will be first week of April, and that's obviously going to be recapping what happened in
What
Am.
happened? Yeah. How you're the new champ.
That'd be great. I would.
Plan
I've always had plans. I couldn't do it like during Memphis because I was so humbled. But I always had plans what I was gonna do like on Two White Lights if I won nationals or worlds. I would break off into like some sort of stupid skit or something.
yeah,
But
you have to.
yeah, no, I know I'm going. I am going to.
Do you have
For
it planned already?
huh?
What happened? Do you have the skit planned? Like
It's not a skit. It's just how I'm gonna act. I have it
uh,
planned out already. Like yeah, what I would do to Steve the entire time.
yeah, he
And
has to address you as
Solana will
king.
probably come on for a recap potentially. I think we discussed that maybe, but yeah, yeah, I would treat them. I mean, I did it before to Steve. Of like, I mean, obviously, it's not the biggest insult. Steve is not like bitter that he's not a great power lifter. But we like when Solana was on, he podium too at nationals. Like, hey, raise your hand if you podium this year's nationals. Like, oh, Steve, oh, you didn't podium. Oh man, that sucks.
Yeah, I like that banter that you guys have on there.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, that's also like the thing. So, like me and him are talking. We're like we like doing toe white lights also at a point where we just get to see each other and talk to each other. And that's where you see like now two white lights, like we just get into like random conversations about like the bear. We're both Bears fans, so we talk about that. You know, we're both big sports fans, and it does turn into like we always joke it's our date night that we get to see each other and just talk about things and have a beverage of choice and just we talk about powerlifting, but then also we just talk about things that are going on and like that's where two white lights kind of is. It's we always wanted to be the alternative podcast. And, at this point, I think we totally can be because I don't think neither of us care about the bridges we burnt or possibly gonna burn into the future. So
Yeah, it's just like an unfiltered FaceTime call.
pretty much.
Yeah,
Filtered enough
that's
though. I still can't fully be.
fully
I
you.
don't know if people like could tell I've really toned down on my language on Two White Lights since I started to become a full time teacher. Really toned down. Like I've
Yeah,
been pretty
because you're
PG 13.
yeah, because you're coaching your powerlifting high school team, so they obviously all know that you're a powerlifter and probably follow you, right?
Yeah, so they know I exist like in the powerlifting world, so I gotta
Yeah,
somewhat
you
be
can't be bad.
careful what's said. Yeah, and I don't know. I'm sure people could tell. Like go on my Instagram page. It's just, I mean, granted, my Instagram page is mostly me lifting, but I'm staying away from foul language and all that stuff that a person from Chicago has a hard time doing. Is just not using curse words as a filler.
Yeah, I usually just say or wow, that's crazy. I like try and catch myself. Like when I listen back and I'm editing though, I'm like, oh my God, bro, you need to get better at this.
Yeah,
I just let it fly. I don't get too worried about it.
yeah. Now you're good. Yeah, just actually, yeah. I mean, podcasts. I think, yeah, because I do have a filler, like a swearing filler problem. I guess gotta say it just doesn't sound good.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all good. You're improving. You're more PG friendly now.
Yep, more family friendly.
All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on the show. My phone's about to die.
All right, boys.
All right, buddy. Thank you for coming on.
Problem was an
All right,
honor.
buddy. Take care.
Yeah.
Bye bye.